Excuse me. What's up, everyone? Welcome to BRAP. It's Friday, March the 20th, March Madness.
Oh yeah.
What I got the tournament in the background here, Doomsayer. So I'm
Which game? Which game?
Akron and Arizona.
Oh, okay. I just ran downstairs. I was watching the Kentucky Troy game, and Troy's keeping it real close.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. There was who got up? Somebody got upset yesterday.
McNeese beat Clemson.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So some upsets as we typically see during March Madness, but welcome to the show, Doomsayer. It's great to have you back.
I appreciate you getting a hold of me in that, and I love being here. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And great. Love the Punisher hat, by the way. That's awesome. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Big shout to everyone in the live chat. Do me a favor. Actually, what I need to do is drop the link here in the live chat. Do me a solid and retweet the link. Didn't get the link out earlier in the day because of work. Work's been a little busy, so just didn't get the opportunity to do all that stuff that I typically do. Let me adjust my camera here. Hold a sec here. See my Todd Howard, not Todd Howard, not Todd Howard. What the hell I'm thinking? Todd McFarlane Titanfall poster.
Wait a minute, Todd McFarlane did that poster?
Yeah, right here. Look.
Shit.
Let me see. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. Oh man. I didn't know he did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he also did a Assassin's Creed Black Flag one, which I have in my room too.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man.
A lot better stuff than I do. I need to get up on this stuff.
No, I like your where's the Aussie guy? The Aussie guy's not here. Falky's not here at the moment. But Game Logic is here with us. What's going on, Logic?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
How you doing, Logic?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. Finally, it's Friday. I'm long work week. I was just saying that to Doomsayer. I didn't get the link out because work's been crazy. And Logic, I've been meaning to pick your brain about systems integration. So just remind me next time we chat because I have a bone to pick right now. So I'm going to advocate for Hamp Consulting to come on board and help us out. So we need BRAP as the next character for Assassin's Creed as the first Latino assassin. Sir, I don't disagree with you. There should we've had an Italian. Why we need a Latino? But we need like a Latino okay, here's my pitch for Assassin's Creed with a Latino character. His name is Carlos, because everyone can remember Carlos, right? Carlos is an easy name, I think, to remember. Probably more so than Enrique. It needs to take place in the 70s. Okay? It needs to place in the 70s, right? Doomsayer is looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, what the fuck?
No. I'm wondering where this is going. If keep going, I'm interested.
So think Al Pacino, Scarface, right?
Oh,
we're in the same place. We were heading in the same place. I was going to say it's a story of a guy in a cartel.
Yes, thank you.
Who gets contacted by the Shadow Society and turned into an assassin and takes down the cartel.
Sicario.
Yes,
Sicario.
Yes. And you know who could do the voice work? What's his name for Sicario?
Benicio. I was thinking Benicio del Toro.
Del Toro?
Yeah, Benicio del Toro. Yeah, he could do it. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'd love that.
Oh, they can hire BRAP. I mean, I'm available. I'm not part of a union, so
you also can't speak Spanish.
Oh, sir, that is slander. I can. Hola.
Yeah, BRAP. Listen.
Look,
that's as much as I can speak to the guys that I work with at work. I usually have to go and get the guy that speaks great English and sit there and, hey, can you translate so I know exactly what's going on? Yeah, he's telling you to move your goddamn truck out of the way. Oh, okay, never mind. But yeah, okay.
Look, you know what's funny? I was literally going. So that I'm glad that you picked up on that. When I said Scarface, I figured that was probably like right. Scarface.
I love that game and that movie.
Well, I was gonna when you first pitched the idea, this was. I mean, it's funny that it's the exact same script plot that I had in my head, and I was gonna jump in, but I was like, let me go ahead and see where BRAP goes with it.
Let me ask this real quick. So you have this game, okay, and this goes to both of you. Name 5 songs that would make up the soundtrack to this game. What 5 songs would you guys put in there?
5 songs. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Logic. Were you gonna?
No, unfortunately, I don't like the ones that spring to my mind are all of like the Latino rap songs that have been like popular like over the last 5 years, but I don't know any of their titles.
70 songs. Because BRAP said it's going to be in the 70s.
It's got to be the 70s.
70s.
See,
it's more difficult.
my genre bending like creative approach would be leave it set in the 70s, but give it a modern hip hop soundtrack.
Okay. I can go with that. BRAP, you got any suggestions? It looks like he might be looking some up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of hold on a sec here. Popular 70s songs.
Because like Scarface, the game Scarface, they had Motorhead, and then Blondie was in there with a
I would, you know what? It's funny. Remember White Rabbit, which was in The Matrix?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here's what I envision, right? Okay, oh god, I should be check this out, right? So the main character Carlos, right? So Carlos has been abducted by the secret society. He's a cartel member, but he's trying to get out of the cartel because he's got this love interest. No, he doesn't have a love interest. The cartel killed his love interest, so now he wants fucking vengeance, right? Logic shaking his head. Yeah, that makes more sense. Because I was gonna have like Carlos's girlfriend's pregnant. He wants to get that. You can't do that. Like, because to be an assassin, you got to be motivated by something, right? To do some vile shit like that. So he gets captured by the secret society, becomes an assassin, right? Taps into his roots, cooks up the whole. I forget the name of the secret, the DNA thing. What the hell is it called? Anyhow, so.
Oh my god.
Okay. What happened?
No, you sat there. The Anonymous thing with Assassin's Creed. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. The what's it called? The machine. I forget.
The Animus.
Animus. Yes, Animus. I was trying to think of it. So here's the deal. All right. So his girlfriend, his love life, his love. I mean, and I'm going to make her ugly on purpose to piss off the pussies who get upset about. Oh my God, she's not beautiful. She's not beautiful enough. And I live in my parents' basement, and I drink Mountain Dew all day, and I'm very upset because so woke. So I'm going to make her ugly on purpose.
That was a good Cartman.
I wasn't even trying to do Cartman. Let me tell you, I've had a week this week, by the way. So I'm fired up. Like I told Logic today. Logic, what'd I tell you? I'm fired up, right?
Logic, I got him a little bit more stirred up before.
Oh yeah, he got me. Yeah. Hey, Doomsayer came here with the fucking gasoline tank and just
Logic already knows what's going on because a couple weeks ago these were the questions I was giving him, so he already knows what's going on. But sorry, bro.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and pitch my I'm cursing up a stuff. I'm gonna get demonetized probably. I never say the P word, but I am because I'm tired of the whole like thing about Assassin's Creed Shadows, which Logic we'll talk about later on. You had a great all jokes aside, you had a great tweet about that, by the way, about art. We'll talk about art here in a little bit. But okay, so Carlos's wife gets killed, right? By a member of the cartel he's a part of, right? Over some jealousy shit, right? So he's upset. He becomes assassin, right? All right, so check this out. He comes in, right? He's got his hood on, right? And he walks into this nightclub. Right? And it's back in the 70s, everyone's smoking, right? Everyone's smoking Pall Malls, Marlboro double wides, Camels.
I was Camels.
People are doing this shit right here, you know what I'm talking about, right? They're doing this, and a couple guys got their shirt that are taco meat hanging out. You know what I mean? You hear, hey, look at this maricon right here, okay? Look at this maricon. You hear all that in the fucking background. But as he's walking in slow motion, all right? walking in slow motion, and it's dark, and you see smoke, right? Smoke. And the ray tracing's coming in, right? Because there's gonna be fucking ray tracing in this game, right? Ray tracing, global illumination, the smoke, the smog's cranked up to like very high, and you're 50, 90. The music's playing, and he's walking in, and it's slow. And the music that's playing, the song that's playing in the background is White Rabbit, which is, I think, this is by Jefferson Airplane. It's a song that's in the Matrix. You remember that, Logic? White Rabbit, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very
I know what you're
trippy.
talking about. It's is that the lobby assault?
I think it's when.
I mean, I know there's a line in the movie throughout the movie that's like follow the White Rabbit.
Yeah, but I think it's when he actually meets. Yeah, so this is Jefferson Airplane, and it came out in 1967. I'm looking at the history, but it's a very like trippy song. So that's playing in the background while Carlos, the newly found assassin, right? Let me tell you, not only does he have like the little blade, right? You know what he's got, Dupes here? He's got a fucking machete.
Okay, keep going.
Right? And he's walking in, he's grabbing his balls, and he's like, you know what? The fuck anyhow, no, he's not grabbing his balls. I'm joking. So he's walking in, right? And so the White Rabbit's playing in the background, and he just goes ballistic. Think him walking in. Remember when Blade walked in, Wesley Snipes walked in the big vampire fest, and he went fucking nuts. Okay,
Yep.
but except he's not. Carlos doesn't have guns. Carlos doesn't. He's got his, his machete and his little like dagger thing, right? So just imagine that kind of that scenario, and that becomes like his calling card. The cartels are getting scared. They can't go out. They can't party. He's disrupting the supply chain. He's going to the docks where the cocaine's coming in, and he's assassinating people. Right? He's going after the top dog, Fernando. Fernando's the fucking kingpin. He's going after Fernando. Okay. That's my early. What do you guys think? That's my pitch.
Does it have a Kane and Lynch kind of feel to it? The grittiness and everything, and the way the game is, not the way the story is, but the grittiness in that. Because I love Kane and Lynch. I love both those games. Wish there was a third, but that's the way it kind of sounds. It kind of sounds like real gritty and dark and that kind of thing. That's what I like.
Yeah, I could say like Kane and Lynch, kind of that grittiness that, and I was wondering maybe that noir type and aesthetic like Max Payne.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, the Max Payne was kind of trippy at times, but at least Max Payne 1 was. I like what Chronorig said here. You have to be like Antonio Banderas and have a deadly guitar. The Mariachi, which was a movie by what's his name?
Richard Rodriguez.
Who did Desperado. Yeah, but it's based on the Mariachi. The Mariachi.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe carries a good. That is where are the what are the brothers called for Moviesoft? They're what do they call the
Guillermo brothers?
Yeah, they should be. You know what? They should be watching this show right now. By the way, if you guys steal this, Guillermo brothers. We have this documented. We have this. If I see if I see an Assassin's Creed where the guy's going after cartel set in the 70s or 60s or 90s or whatever the case is, remember, we know where you got the idea from. Right here on BRAP. So I want to. All right, this is crazy. I've never gone down this rabbit hole with like sort of like pitching a game like this. But what do you guys think? I mean, seriously, like all jokes aside, like what do you think about?
If it's anything, I love Scarface the game. I remember telling this story. I got laid off, and that's all I played. That for the 2 months I was laid off, I just played Scarface. And the thing is with Scarface is I never saw the movie until I started playing the video game. And then once I started playing the video game, if anybody knows, when you have DirecTV, you have the East Coast feed and then the West Coast feed. So if it came on at noon, you can watch it again at 3 o'clock. So I was watching the movie and playing the game. But yeah, I dive into it in a heartbeat, man. I love the whole concept of it because it's just like I sat there and said, it gives you that Sicario feeling in a way. And I can't stop watching those movies. Those movies are absolute great, and I don't know why they're not making a third movie. I think there was some kind of an interview with Tyler Sheridan. He's like, yeah, I want to make it. He said, but nobody's contacted me about, doing it. But I definitely would definitely play your game, BRAP. Definitely.
I don't know. What do you think, Logic? I mean, are you picking up on this pitch?
Yeah, man. I mean, it sounds. I mean, a Latin background, is just an area that they haven't explored in the franchise. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think it. Yeah, no, I think it's. I think I think it's worth exploring. I just my 2 cents. I need to find some venture capitalists to fund this idea.
I am not one. I can tell you that right now.
What's anti-woke chuds? AC Shaz is woke and not historically accurate, offensive towards Japanese. I'm going to buy it and play it, stream it. Are people really saying that this game is offensive towards Japanese culture? Or the Japanese?
They've tried to pull that.
I mean,
it's
what
really
have the Japanese had to say about it? I mean, I can think of things more offensive to Japanese culture coming out of the United States.
I mean, like telling senators that they need to put the Japanese back in, through trade negotiations back in a box and have them stop disenfranchising American developers and American technology companies that are trying to sell consoles in their country.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, that would offend me if I were a sovereign nation.
Yeah, that would be offensive.
I think that would offend me more than a video game.
Yeah, considering that video games are work of arts and often will take pieces of history and apply their own twist to it. Anyhow. All right, so that's my Assassin's Creed pitch.
Thank God none of these people lived in the grew up in the 80s and even in the 90s, because man, the shit that happened in those decades, oh my God. Especially with the comedians too. The way the comedians used to be. Yeah.
What is Nate saying here? It's funny when you play the game. Oh, that's 780X. It's one of the most respectful games of Japanese culture ever. These idiots wouldn't know that though, since they're not playing it. It actually is offensive to the Japanese. They perverted the paragon of Japanese virtue and ancestor to the emperors into a love interest for Yuzuke. So Jason, are the Japanese up in arms about this? I'm just curious. Or are you Japanese? Like seriously, like what? I mean, how do you know the Japanese are offended by this? Have you talked to them? Are you on the phone with them? Have you talked to the Japanese Prime Minister? Are you one with the Japanese culture? Like, I'm just curious. Are you a historian of Japanese culture, an expert? Do you teach Japanese culture at university? Please explain this to me. Explain this perspective to me, that it's offensive to Japanese. Explain that to me. Explain to me what art is, by the way. And Logic, let's dive. You know what? I wasn't going to do this right away. I wasn't going to do this. But eyebrows 2chan. Okay. So and you can confirm that the people on 2chan are Japanese. And look, in fairness, you may have some people that are Japanese may be offended. Everyone these days, there are people, subset that are offended. But just generally speaking, are they offended? Probably not. Hayabusa 98 says, I'm Japanese. Why are you offended, Hayabusa? And how are you offended by this? I'm just curious to get your perspective. Oh, you're not Japanese. Okay. I guess he's joking. So this goes back. I wasn't going to get to this right away, Logic, but let's talk about your tweet earlier today about art. Let me pull this up real quick. Now I need to find it. Give me a second here as I pull up this. I got to find this tweet. Aha, here we go. All right. Game Logic, who's here on the panel, tweeted out today, gamers, if you don't understand that, Logic, did you want to read your tweet? I don't know if you want me reading it, but
sure, I can do that. Gamers, if you don't understand that one of the key principles of art is that some art is supposed to make you uncomfortable, get you out of your bubble and your echo chambers, make you think and consider other positions and other perspectives when you're just intellectually lost. Art is lost on you, and you shouldn't participate. Some art is supposed to be comfort food and allow you to veg out, turn your brain off, forget the world, and essentially fire the same number of synapses the average American does when they jam themselves in front of the boob tube. And let's stop acting like that latter example is still not the vast bulk of the content being created. 19,000 games published every year, and it's not like every one is an Oscar-contending deep sociological experiment. The bulk of the content still caters to the challenged and the lazy, which means your complaints are just an excuse because there's plenty of alternatives on the market for you to play. And the truth in that excuse is why you guys get the labels you get, because the addle-brained and lazy rationalizations for racism, homophobia, and other prejudices are transparent. You aren't fooling anyone.
Well said, Logic. Well said. So, and I like what you said about some art's supposed to be comfort food and allow you to veg out, turn your brain off, forget the world. And some art is, and some art does the opposite. But at the end of the day, you don't have to play these things. And there's I think, what'd you say, 19,000 other games or something?
Yeah.
Published every year. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I'm starting to suspect that a lot of the vitriol that we see is really just people masking their own hate for other people, for what's the word I'm looking for here? I said for other people and for things that are, I mean, you talk about racism, homophobia, and other prejudice. I think these things are this vitriol, this backlash, this anger towards games that they call woke is really just a way for them to vocalize some of the things that you mentioned at the bottom there, Hamp.
Well, it's just, I mean, it's the same demographic of, other people that we talk about who complain about other things. These are people who don't love video games. So, I mean, as far as let's also make sure that we understand it. This tweet is very nice. I held back from a great deal of things that I would have normally said. I mean, but these people don't love video games, and they're beneath me. They don't need to be in the gaming conversation because they're not having a discussion about the entertainment medium as a piece of art. If you respect it and perceive it as a piece of art, then you acknowledge that some of that art is not going to be for you, right? And you just say, I'm not interested in this game, and you keep moving, right? But look, there's art, there is art out there, there's entertainment out there that depicts Black people in an unfavorable light, right? But you don't see me sitting here out on the corner yelling and screaming at people about the them creating those pieces of art. I don't like them, and I can certainly say that I'm not going to consume them, but I don't necessarily say that those things shouldn't exist. Now, when they're platformed off of for political propaganda, that's slightly different. But as a simple manner of it is a piece of entertainment, it is a piece of art, it is a medium, then I can't argue it out of existence. And that's what it seems like these people try to do. They try and yell and scream and shout and smother it. And in addition to that, right, they're guilty of the same obfuscation and just flat out untruths and lies that some of the other people who are, our opposition force, in an effort to misportray facts, right? We constantly have, they constantly say go woke, go broke, and yet over and over and over and over and over again, we get examples of these titles performing commercially well, thereby disproving that is not the absolutism that they try and advertise it as.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally have seen people say that you go woke, you go broke, and it's like, no, I mean, have you guys never played? Have you never played Mass Effect?
Oh,
The Last of Us. I mean, go back to Mass Effect. The romancing options there. We didn't have these conversations back then. People weren't screaming at the mountaintop, oh no, yeah, this guy, yeah, he's not pretty enough.
BRAP, let me ask you something. I'm sure both of you guys saw this movie. There was this movie years ago with Tom Cruise in it called The Last Samurai. Tom Cruise is a white guy, and he becomes a samurai. Was everybody pissed off because there was a white samurai guy? And I don't get any of this. It's like everybody has to. This is entertainment. It's supposed to be entertainment for you. It's just
Look,
take it the way it is.
I'm sorry, Deuce. Go ahead.
No,
go
go ahead.
Like Jason saying, like, I think it should have been a native born samurai. Samurai were ninjas too, and a single character's gender you can pick. Okay,
Yeah, so go make your own video game. Like you don't own it. And this is another part of the artistic process that I don't understand how people fail to comprehend. If you've ever done a creative work of your own, then you know that that's your creative work. And sure, you're accountable on a business, right? In a business, you're accountable for its commercial viability, right? But at the end of the day, your team are trying to make a creative work that hones true to your own personal ethos and the thing that you want to try and create in that moment of time, right? So yes, consumers get to ask for whatever they want to ask for, but creators aren't obligated to create the thing for you. And if you don't like, right, the creative choices that somebody make, then as BRAP said, like don't play it, don't buy it, go do something else. But if your complaint is, the choices they made harm the narrative, and like there's a certain point where I have a lack of tolerance and patience for people who, in my mind, cross the threshold and get too invasive about the creative process, right? Once you cross that line, you're at the point of my personal feeling is go make your own video game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Go make your own video game or go play a different video game. If you like, and I don't know, Jason, if you've actually played Assassin's Creed Shadows, you're saying the game is harmed narratively trying to cram two people. I mean, if you've played the entire game and that is your opinion, fine. But the native born thing, like, why does it matter? And if that is something that you have to have in a game, go play fucking Jin Senkai, fucking Ghost of Tsushima. Go play that. I often think that people feel like I'm owed this as a gamer. I'm owed a creator to create a game for me. And to me, Logic and Doom, the artistic process doesn't revolve around a single individual. And to me, it revolves around the individual actually creating the art.
Unless you want to be a venture capitalist and like go make the same amount of money as Mark Cuban and commission a studio to make a video game for you.
Here, let me throw this out to the chat. The question I have is this: when you see a movie, in this movie, it starts off right from the beginning, based on true events. Do you honestly think that all of the events that are in the movie happened? I want to see if the chat even knows. It does. When you sit there and you see The Conjuring and you're seeing the two people, I can't remember what their names are, but they were actually paranormal investigators. Do you believe everything in that movie actually happened? because to be honest with you, it doesn't, because in a movie they're only taking certain events and then they're going and they're adding filler in there to whether it's more action or horror, suspense, and things like that. It's just based off of an event. Not everything is true. And it's just like you guys were sitting there saying with the director, the writers, and everything, they're able to sit there and say, hey, here's this event, try to stick to as much factual information as you can, but you also got to put seats or people in the seats. So you got to, ramp it up here and there and do this for the movie. So the movie can also, make money. You're just like you guys sat there and said, this is art. They're taking something and they're putting their story to it. And this is hey, this is what I wish maybe have happened in that. We took a little bit of historical fact, and I would have loved to see this, as a game or a movie or whatever. I don't understand why everybody got to get upset. Just play a goddamn game. If you don't want to, you don't like it, then don't play it. Just go do something else.
So I think Doom, like in that scenario, right? The where this gets caught up is right, and we are going to have a keep that same energy moment, right? Is the people who say, well, it's not historically accurate, like and they're going to be like those people who have that perspective, and you track on that consistency based on whether or not a person says that all the time. Right, when that person doesn't say that all the time, or where they concatenate right there, it's not historically accurate. They shouldn't have had a black man as a samurai. Okay, well now you're giving off a red flag, right? And we have multiple instances of video games throughout all time that are way like less historically accurate, right, than Assassin's Creed Shadows and other things. And so there's so many things that there's an effort to kind of pile into this space as an excuse. And Jason is taking it to heart. He feels like we're going after him. I'm personally not. My thing is, I mean, and Jason, I think where this started, right, was the comment that if I'm not mistaken, if I could be mistaken, we can go back and rewind the tape. Was the notion that the Japanese culture was offended. Right, and so the first line of questioning is, well, how do you know that, and what are you basing it on?
Well, he's basing it on people in 2chan, but again, that's not. I wouldn't say that's a reflection of the majority or of the larger Japanese culture. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you have criticisms of the game and you've played it, right, that's at least some of it, right, then that's a thing. If you're taking the notion that the Japanese culture is somehow offended and just not walking the dog to how, why, and how do you know, and then concatenating that with these other reasons, that's the thing we're trying to understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's Jason. That's I'm not trying to pick on you, but I am kind of picking on you because of that one particular comment that it's offensive to the Japanese culture.
And the things I mentioned, like they're not specific to you. Like my whole thing about gamers can ask for what they want for what they want, but creators get to create. That's a trend of a theme within the gaming community. It goes back to this conversation. It's this conversation. It goes also back to Horizon Forbidden West. It goes back to a lot of things.
But and honestly, let's just say if the characters aren't historically accurate, right? We see this in movies all the time. There is such thing as alternative history. Movies have been doing this forever. I guess you could say it's a subgenre, right, of sorts. But we see this in movies where there's alternative history, kind of I don't know, like I guess like a what if you want to call it, like.
Well, it's like people who see it's like people who are racist who see Bridgerton and go, well, that's not historically accurate. I'm like, okay. Again, we have lots of shows that are not historically accurate, right? That take a riff on a theme, right? You're not bothered because it's not historically accurate. You're bothered because there's black people, right? I mean, we have instances of this in movies as a creative work, in literature. In fact, if you roll the tape all the way back to J.R.R. Tolkien, right? What is it? It's one of the witch kings or whatever. I forget what I don't know my Tolkien as well, but the dude gets killed, right? Because the prophecy or the lore was that he could not be killed by any man, right? And then the person kills him, takes off the helmet, and then says, "Yeah, but I'm not a man," and it's a woman who kills him, right? I mean, like, these things go all the way back throughout time.
Yeah, and I to your point, like Logic, you said it's not that you don't like the show, you just don't like, or you don't like the. I forget what you just said. You don't like that there's a black person in the show. I probably.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
I mean,
it.
But I think that's I honestly believe that is really what's behind this. The vitriol, the hate, the racism, the homophobia. I think that is what's burning inside the hearts of these people. It's not that they I don't want politics. Like, no, you're just hateful people. You don't like people that are different than you. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, and it goes to the other thing that we talk about, right? This is the trend, right? In video games and entertainment, right? It's the thing was bad. It was bad because they put a woman as lead. They put a woman as lead because it was contrived, because they were trying to achieve a sociological experiment. This is the thing. What was the black guy who just got cast as Snape, right, in the Harry Potter TV show?
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And people are all offended. And I'm like, did you guys attend the audition? Is it in the realm of the multiverse? Is it in some way somewhat possible that maybe he just happened to be the guy who had the best read when he did the audition?
Well,
right?
Logic, remember, what was it, a couple of years ago? People were bitching and complaining because they were going to get Michael B. Jordan to play Superman. And they're like, well, wait a minute. Wait. It's like, if you read the comic books, you would know there was a black Superman. Just go to a comic book store and buy a comic and read. It's that simple. Or here, better yet, you don't even have to leave your house. There's a thing called Google. It'll literally take you 30 seconds. Hey, it's just an idea. I just wanted to put it out there.
Well, now you're hitting me with my nerd nerve. And when that happened, I said, "There's a very simple solution to this. Just cast the guy as Val Zod and tell that story, right, and be done with it." But you know what? But here's the problem. Here's the problem, Doom. Right, and this is the exact point. Those people would still be mad.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
You know what? I cannot wait for the day of a Latino president. I cannot wait, and I hope his name's Carlos. I hope his name's Carlos. But I will say this, like the thing that's kind of that strikes me as odd too is oh well, because we saw it with Fable. Oh, she's not pretty, she's ugly. Look at her jawline. I'm like, are you fucking serious? You're taking time out of your day to examine the jawline of a fictional character in a fucking video game? Like, that's how much time you have? Like, you need to step back. If that's what you're doing with your life and your time, I think it's time to sit down and have an honest conversation and reevaluate the things that are lacking in your life. And one of them is probably a job. The other one is probably that you live in your mom's basement, drinking Mountain Dew, eating Doritos all day. Stop. I don't like. It's really weird. And look, if you don't like the jawline of the lady from Fable, go play Final Fantasy. Go look at Tifa.
Go play all the hentai games. The thousands of hentai games that are on Valve. For frat's sake, like, play the dating simulators. Play the sex gotcha games. Like, again, this was the point of my tweet. Like, that stuff is out there for you. You're sitting here whining and complaining that people aren't making stuff for you. Yes, they are. It's all over Steam. Valve doesn't give a shit. They let people publish whatever the fuck it is they want to publish, right? And you can go buy it. Literally, that was Gabe's quote. It is not our job. We shouldn't be in the role of policing what studios can publish or telling players what they can play. if we find something that comes across the line that's egregiously offensive, then we will take it down. But there is no governance in what gets published to Steam. Go there. That is where you belong.
Listen, I purposely did not buy Stellar Blade because I just did not like the physics that were just flying all over the place. It's like, I'm not buying a game to see somebody's boobs, going all over the place. That just doesn't interest me. Maybe the story might be great, but I don't know. But it's like Horizon. I'm like, I didn't start Horizon to sit there and go, oh man, look, Aloy, she's really cute. I got to play this game. I didn't give two shits about how attractive she was. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but my whole purpose was to sit there and these are mechanical dinosaurs. This looks cool. I want to play this game. It's just me. I don't look at games for something like that.
Well, Doomsayer, it's because you're normal.
My wife would question that.
All right. Well, you're kind of normal, but that's the thing. Like,
I'm normal. I don't know about her.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't go to a game and say, well, like when I looked at Fable, the last thing I thought was, oh, she's unattractive. Her jawline's too square. Aloy's ugly. Like, why would I think that?
Her breasts aren't big enough.
Her boobs aren't big. Like, why? It's a fucking video game,
right?
Like, go out and touch real boobs. How about that? How about you use that as a starting point in your life? Get out of your mother's basement, put the bag of Doritos down, and go touch some boobs. Go touch the real ones.
So, and here's the other thing for all the people who are going to get mad.
Sorry, I'm just ranting.
I'm pulling back a little bit, right, from saying like you have no right for those things to bother you. Absolutely, right? It's like, look, I have a problem in consumption of literature that I just don't like the anti-hero. That whole literary concept, I think, is BS. I'm like, a person's either good or bad. Don't try and humanize Thanos to me. Like, I don't care. That's an evil dude. Kill him. Right? Trying to sell me Dexter as a good guy, get out of my face with that. Right? But in down that line, right down that genealogy, I don't like the aggrandizement of characters who use drugs, right? In literature and on TV, and like paint them as to be like some poor tortured soul, and again, like an anti-hero. No, if you smoke coke, you're a bad person. Right? Don't try and sell me anything otherwise.
Hey. Don't judge Carlos, okay? He's on a path of redemption in Assassin's Creed, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
So my thing is you can pick and choose and certainly have your sensitivities and things you don't like. But when your offense at those things supersedes your acknowledgement and your effort to appreciate something as a piece of art, that's where whether you're racist, prejudiced, homophobe, I don't want to say I care about that less. What's pertinent to this conversation about art and the medium, and that's quite frankly trying to protect the industry, and quite frankly, I'm going to just say gatekeep cretins out of it who have no business being here and have no business being in the conversation. My problem is that you're coming into this space allowing your sensitivities to supersede the conversation and the notion of art, and I don't want you here. That's my main problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I would say, like Hellstorm say, they chose the wrong way. How? It's their artistic vision. That's the direction they chose to go in. How is that the wrong way?
Yeah, and if you want an authentic like Japanese story, there's Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, right? There's tons of other games that explore, right, the Asian culture and the Japanese culture specifically.
Yeah. Go play Sekiro. Go play Sekiro. Like, seriously, like Onimusha, which is coming out again. Go play Ninja Gaiden. Go play The Last Ronin. There's tons of games. If you have to have the accuracy in a game, go play those games. Just move on.
And here's my thing about the difference in the conversation too is what we're preaching is that there be an allowance for latitude for creative diversity, right? It's awesome that Ghost of Tsushima exists. What I'm pushing back on is the notion that everything has to be Ghost of Tsushima, right? That there could be zero exploration right? Even at the risk of offending people. And because this is one of the things that I often talk about, the sociological evolution of art. This is things that I push back on against people who would be ostensibly sociologically liberal, right, or whatever. Like in movies, in literature, in video games, the first effort to portray the Black experience, portray the transgender experience, portray the homosexual experience, 99% likelihood that they're going to get it wrong, right? Do you know why? Because this what was the thing on? It was a thing on Hulu. It was it's in the last 5 years. It was like a TV show that was about cops on I think on a Navajo reservation, right, in the whole Navajo Nation, and like murders, that would happen, and them trying to solve them. And there were a lot of Navajos who were offended, right, because like they mixed things up with like other tribes and it wasn't authentic. And I was kind of like, and it's like, I'm not going to tell those people to be not be offended. But what I am going to say is, you know what? The first time that like a thing like gets made about Navajos, probably not going to be by a Navajo person, because that person's not going to get that opportunity in Hollywood, right? First time a movie gets made, like how many blaxploitation films did we have to go through, right? Before John Singleton was allowed to make a movie about the Black experience, right? Before Ryan Coogler was allowed to make Black Panther, right? I'm not saying those things are right. I'm saying that's an evolutionary fact that historically, I can't ignore. Like, so what I have to believe until this gets fixed through the evolution of man is that in order to get, I'll just pick one, in order to get a true authentic transgender story made, you're going to have a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows that are made by non-trans people. Right. And then eventually, right, praying, God willing, you eventually get a story, right? Eventually society evolves to a point where they say, hey, we've tried to tell this story 1,000 times. We haven't gotten it right. Let's give a person in this minority, right, this thin vertical slice of humankind an opportunity to try and tell that story in a more authentic manner. That's how the evolution happens, right? So even while I'm pushing back against the people who don't want these things made, I push back against the people to a certain extent who do want the things made, who are like, well, you just shouldn't make that effort at all until you could tell the story authentically. And I'm like, God, like, have you studied Hollywood? Because that's not the way that shit happens.
So yeah, no, absolutely, that's a great point. Great example. The black. I can't never say that. Blacks. The movies from the 70s. I can never say that. But yes, that was a good example. Logic. Look. So I've seen the conversation here in the live chat. Mary Wilcox and Hellstorm. So Hellstorm, I think you need to understand something about art, because you seem kind of focused on that. Well, it's not creative. Would then be would be them making an original story. The issue, Hellstorm, and what you don't understand about art, and this is actually available on the internet. I encourage you to, I think Doomsayer said, do a quick Google search, right? Do a quick, Doomsayer's like, yeah. Do a quick Google search. Do a quick Google search, Hellstorm, on alternative history, right? Or the subgenre of speculative fiction, which is one or more historical events that have occurred but are resolved differently than in actual history. As conjecture based upon historical fact, alternate history stories propose what-if scenarios about crucial events in human history and present outcomes very different from the historical record. Some alternate histories are considered a subgenre of science fiction or historical fiction. So this is you, Hellstorm, not understanding art. That this is in fact a subgenre of art. Now, you may not agree with that subgenre of art, and if you don't play it. But to act like it's not creative or that it's not a work of art is disingenuous. And I don't know, I don't know your beliefs or your thought process, but I hope that what you're saying isn't coming from a place of hate. But seriously, look it up. Since the 1950s, a subgenre of science fiction, some alternative history stories have featured the tropes of time travel between histories. The psychic awareness of the existence of an alternate universe by the inhabitants of a given universe and time travel that divides history to various time streams. We find this in literature. We find this in television. We find this in video games. We find this in movies. Go ahead, Logic. I think Logic, you were to chime in.
Well, in the is it historically accurate thing? Like again, yet another excuse. Yes, there are absolutely some movies that should strive for historical accuracy, right? And just like video games and movies, right? A lot of that is based on marketing and messaging. If you as the director, right, go out and do a big press tour and tell everybody about how this is supposed to be historically accurate, and that's what people should expect. And people should, right, if you're going to go and you're going to do, and the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, right, then that should be historically accurate and you should be held to that. But if you're doing 300, right, I don't think Zack Snyder was out on a tour telling people that this is a historically accurate, like, retelling, right, of that battle.
What do you mean? Of course it was. Come on, Leonidas. This is Sparta.
I thought Frank Miller was there.
So, and
Frank Miller was there, Dupes there.
and then this is the other thing about art, right? That is centric to the topic people are arguing with Hellstorm about, and like all this topic of like historical accuracy and blah 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 blah. Art, right, has throughout the history of mankind been used and has come up, like certain genres and mediums have specifically come about as a means of, yes, political and sociological pushback, because artists are trying to convey a message in a manner that people will pay attention to, because them going to Central Park and yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs has not been effective, because them trying to write their congressmen, right, and influence their representatives has not been effective. So the comment that, like, well, they're writing it based on an agenda, again, art, no crap. Yeah, lots and tons of it is agenda driven. Like that whole notion of like the pushback by the gaming community of like, I don't want politics in my art. I'm like, that statement is like, says everything about a person who doesn't understand what art is.
I mean,
because that has been one of the principal purposes of art throughout the history of mankind.
I mean, when you said the politics and art, I mean, I for whatever reason, I immediately thought of Public Enemy, right? NWA.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
KRS-One.
Yeah, KRS-One, right? I mean, you go back to the '60s, the rock bands of the '60s. Singing, speaking out against the Vietnam War and government. I mean, like, and movies. I mean, like, it is. That is a great point, Logic. And I see Hellstorm. It's like, it is art to push an agenda. Yeah, no shit. I mean, that is to your point, Logic. I mean, if you go back to fucking Picasso, for crying out loud, Picasso made art that pushed agendas, that had political messages.
It's literally almost the entirety of the discography of the 60s.
Yeah, seriously, like Hellstorm. I'm kind of getting off my chair here, because I'm about to ask you to see, like, are you upset because there's a black character in this game? Like, that's where I'm going with you right now, because whatever. Yeah,
I wanted to throw this out there. If anybody is religious in the chat here and that, I advise you, please do not watch the movie called Heretic with I'm trying to think the gentleman that was
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant. If you are religious, stay away from that movie, because if you don't like what's going on in Assassin's Creed, you are not going to like what goes on in that movie, and it goes hard on religion and the way religion is and has been. So I stay away from that movie.
And this is, no, that's a great point that you bring up, right? And this is the thing that bothers me, right? Because I consider myself a Christian, right? So I get frustrated with a lot of the conversations that I see on social media. As a Christian, if your faith is so weak and so fragile that you can't go see an intellectual piece of medium, of art, and hold strong enough to your beliefs that it makes you think about some things and reinforces your faith or whatever, that to me is an aspect of weakness. Like if you were so convicted in your beliefs, right? And that's a judgmental statement. I get that. I'll own it. Right? But my point is that there will be a group of people who will yell and pick up torches and pitchforks and say that thing shouldn't exist. And I'm like, no, that thing should exist, and people should be forced to think, and people should be yanked out of their comfort zone, right? And that's okay, because there's tons of Christian dogmatic like entertainment medium that you could choose to go watch.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, are you so you're upset that they used, what did you say here? It's a great conversation, by the way. You say, no, I have no issue that he's black. I have issue that they used a real person. So you're upset they used a real person. Were you upset that who was in there were some real characters in
well, I would say this
Assassin's Creed.
I would say this person should also be upset at Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yes. and Hellstrom, you should be upset that I think Da Vinci was actually in Assassin's Creed. You should be upset about that. You should also be upset that you should be
just to let everybody know
you should be upset that there was a George Foreman's knockout boxing, because George Foreman's you should also be upset of all the Madden games because they include real people.
Hey, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is a great movie, by the way.
Yeah, actually, I've never watched it, but I've actually heard people say the same thing.
It is not. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Like one of those guilty pleasure movies for me.
I mean, I don't like I don't know. I'm not buying that. Oh, it's a real character. Why does it matter if it's a real character?
Hey, you know what? Did anybody play? I can't remember what Assassin's Creed game it was, but it took place during the Revolutionary War. Was that 3? Or
yeah, like it was. Somebody said George Washington was like a bad guy in Assassin's Creed 3.
Well, I'm just wondering, did they actually get Valley Forge all right? Because I'm like 7 minutes away from Valley Forge, and I just want to make sure, all the houses and everything else that are in Valley Forge right now are accurate in that kind of thing. Just being sarcastic, but I don't get any of this. I just don't. It's just old.
I mean, are you upset that they had Leonardo da Vinci, that they had Mary Read, that they had Benjamin Franklin, that they had Alfred the Great, that they had Cleopatra, that they had Blackbeard? Yeah, Assassin's Creed Black Flag had Blackbeard. Are you upset that they had Napoleon Bonaparte? Are you upset that those characters were in Assassin's Creed's games? Because they're real characters. So I'm just asking you a general question here. Hellstrom, were you upset that Assassin's Creed games have incorporated real characters, the ones I just mentioned, into their game?
Is he going to be upset about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? Because Napoleon is in there. I think Leonardo.
Is it Aristotle? Is it Aristotle or Socrates?
I think it's Aristotle. But is he going to be upset because they didn't get them accurate in that movie? Or
oh my God, Jason? Are you serious? I think it's highly unlikely that the real Yusuke would have appreciated that white people in the future made a game where he can be gay. Really? I mean, like, why? I don't know. I don't even know how to respond to that.
I'm not responding.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, right? It's the point is to me, if you love video games, and video games are an artistic medium, then you would love. I mean, again, part of loving a thing is the allowance for the thing to not be the thing that you want it to be, right? So in my mind, if you love video games and you love and it is an artistic medium, then you love it enough to have tolerance, right, and allowance for there to be latitude for creatives to go off and create the thing that they want to create. Yeah. And when you and the further you get away from that circle, the further you get away from being a person that I acknowledge as having a credible voice to me in the gaming conversation.
Yeah. And you know what, Jason? Maybe Yusuke was gay. Maybe he would be okay with that. You don't know that. That's just an odd comment to make.
Yeah.
And by the way, he doesn't have to be gay in the game. I mean, it's not like they made him gay. And so what if they did?
I was just about to say, I really don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't understand like people being the obsession over that. Like, I don't get it. Anyhow, I want to move on. Yusuke was to say he was probably sexually abused. That's why it's weird. Okay, maybe he wasn't abused. Probably. So we're having conversations over probabilities, what ifs. All right. Oh my goodness. Now my brain hurts. All right, we're gonna move on to another topic here. Our good buddy, Matt Piscatella. He's no longer on Twitter because the heathens ran him out. Actually, you got tired of the bullshit.
He actually
All right.
did leave Twitter.
Yeah, he left Twitter because people are man babies over because people got upset. People got upset that that he would put out these charts and say things. People got upset, and they would harass him. I've shared this story before. Doomsayer. There was a time. Yeah, he's on Bluer Skies. That's right, Ramon Terrell. There was a time where game developers used to interact with people on Twitter, and then the man babies got upset, and they and the developers like that they stopped interacting with the community. They just got tired of it. So, all right.
You in about 5 minutes.
What's that?
That's basically me in about 5 minutes. I think I'm jumping over to Blue Sky because I can't stand Twitter, man. I hate it. I hate it.
All right, here we go. Let's look at the U.S. video game market. Matt Piscatella for February 2025. U.S. video game market. Consumer spending on video game hardware, content, accessories declined 6% when compared to. Is that year average logic? YA? What is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, to 4.5 billion. Spending so far this year is 11% lower than 2024 year to date at 9 billion. Let's see here. Go to the
you're really getting to the bad part now.
The top 20 best-selling premium games based on US dollar sales, physical and digital from data. I can't even talk. Physical and digital from digital data sharing publishers excludes add-on content. Number 1, Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm not surprised by that. 2, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. 3, Civilization 7. Hey, Logic, did you pick up Civilization 7? I meant to ask you that.
Yes, I did.
How is it, by the way? Is it good?
I enjoy it. It's again, this is me giving latitude and tolerance for a development studio, taking a different direction, right, than their design ethos has been in the past. Like, Civilization has been around since the 90s. I assumed at some point they would like start moving in different directions and not do the same thing that they've always done. So it's different. And I acknowledge that people who are dyed in the wool, like Civ has to be this thing it has always been for 30 years, aren't going to like it. I'm more bothered by the fact that there are quality of life things in the game that aren't there. And so I can't tell if that's we go through this with, operating systems and apps, like every once in a while, like Windows does a major revision, and in the major revision, from the movement to Windows 10 and 11, there are a bunch of features that are ripped out, right, that were in 10. And then over time, those get woven back in. So I can't tell if it's that or if it's just, they just decided those things weren't important, and then that becomes bothersome. So simple things like you used to be able to, select, a military unit or select cities and be able to then just tab and cycle through everyone that you owned, because it gets impossible to see like every military unit you have on the map. You can't do that anymore. Simple quality of life things like I used to always rename my settlements, my cities and towns, and not take the default name that the computer gave them. You can't do that anymore. But in general, I think there are a lot of minutia that are stripped out that allow you to focus more on the core of the game. And I would say that the diplomacy meta game has been leveled up significantly to the point where you can't. I used to be able to avoid it, to not be bothered with it for like just, hours and hours and hours of a campaign. You can't really do that anymore. And it really forces you into early military engagements where it used to not do that. So, but I'm enjoying it.
Okay. Yeah, it's I haven't played a Civilization game in, oh my God, probably a long time, a very long time. I'm just curious to see if there had been any changes to the franchise. So
yeah, there are big significant changes in it. Yeah. I think another one that I'll mention is probably one of the biggest ones that's right in your faces now. There's a differentiation between civilization leader and the civilization. And so I'm not sure exactly. I don't think the pools are wide open. But you if you go random, you can get a civilization leader paired with a civilization that are from different eras of history. So like in my campaign that I'm playing now, my leader is Friedrich Oblique, which is a former ruler of Prussia. But my civilization starting in the ancient age is Rome. And then like the one other civilization that I'm fighting is led by Isabella, but of Spain, but then the civilization is Egypt. Right. So there's some higher variance in certain options and variables in the game than there has historically been in the past. You used to always be locked to, civilization, same civilization for same leader, kind of thing. And that's a major paradigm shift.
I don't know about that, Hant. That doesn't seem historically accurate. I'm bothered by that.
Yeah, well, that's always been the case. That's always been civilization. It's always been based around, making sure that a given scenario unfolds exactly the way it would have in actual history.
Yeah, I'm troubled by that. I'm going to start an online petition and speak out against this game. So,
actually, I've got a lot of these titles in the. I've got Monster Hunter Wilds. I've got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Civilization 7, PGA Tour 2K25, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Avowed. I think I've pretty much run the checklist. I have FC24, but not 25. Okay. But as far as new releases that are here on the chart, I've picked up a lot of them.
Yeah, look at Take-Two Interactive, by the way, making that coin. Civilization 7, PGA 2K25s 4, NBA 2K25 is 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is 6, Avowed is new at 7, Like a Dragon is 8, Grand Theft Auto 5 is 9. It was 4th last month. That's interesting. God, they are printing so much money with that game, or made so much money on that game. Madden 25 is 10, Minecraft is 11, EA Sports FC 25 is 12, Marvel Spider-Man 2 is 13, Red Dead Redemption 2 is 14, Hogwarts Legacy is 15, EA Sports College Football 25 is 16, Helldivers 2 is 17, Elden Ring is 18, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is 19, Astrobot is 20.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Astrobot up there. 20.
Brad, just to interrupt you real quick. I don't know. I mean, that chart, I've been told that chart is actually lying because PlayStation, nobody buys PlayStation games, even the PlayStation gamers.
Well, we were told they're too broke to actually make single player games anymore.
That too. So I think Mac.
Yeah, well, when you listen to an elderly man with a very bad mohawk, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you get.
Well,
I thought that
was a venereal disease on his head.
No, canary on his head.
I was also told nobody's buying Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, that's another thing. I heard about that too. That first it was, well, nobody bought Spider-Man, But then, yeah, people were starting to buy it now, but it just didn't crush it when it first came out. I was told that many times too. So
I was also told that nobody would buy Avowed. That was another one.
I was told that Sea of Thieves actually outsold Astrobot. The last time I checked, Sea of Thieves only sold over 1 million, and I mean, Astrobot's been in the top 20 since it's been out. I think it's past 1.5 million, but I don't know. I don't know the numbers. But this is what I'm getting told from people that know the business and know people at Xbox, and
I mean, the things that are good in this chart, like really huge props need to be given to Plyon. Is Plyon an Embracer or part of Saber Interactive now? Now it's even worse. I can't keep track with what the hell.
I think it's Saber Interactive now.
Okay, so huge props have to be given for them being number 2 right on this chart. As you mentioned, right, take two with a lot of their like non-GTA, I know it's Take Two, but I'm just going to give them the same names, right? That EA has, non-Ultimate Team, gacha game stuff. I mean, NBA 2K25 is up there. I mean, PGA Tour 2K25, yes, you can dump money into it, but there's absolutely no reason to if you're just playing it as a single player. So it's largely, you can be played as a standalone, single game. Civilization 7 up there, which as far as I know has no microtransactions and stuff in it. Avowed, for all of the people running around talking about that game being mid, in at number 7. There are lots of good news stories up here, and I will continue to wave my terrible towel for all the people who run around and say exclusives are bad. Exclusives are part of what's dragging the industry down. AAA games are dragging the industry down. Platform exclusives, you got to be multi-plat, right? And here we go with Spider-Man 2 and Astrobot, which are exclusives, right? Here, sitting here at the in the top upper echelon of the chart.
Logic. I forgot to actually add this. Nobody buys Sony games, but that's compared to Nintendo games. I forgot to put that in there. So
yeah. Now, I mean, I will give a little wiggle room in there for right now. We're looking at charts when Nintendo is like literally putting nothing out right as we're on the eve of the Switch 2. So this could be a vastly different story when the Switch 2 launches. You would expect that there would be 3-4 titles in there. Like, thank God people stopped buying freaking Mario Kart 8. At least, give it a rest for a month at least.
That game was like 60 something million sold, like something absurd.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean Nintendo is printing, like literally printing money.
Yeah.
But apparently they're in the old model, but somehow they're making the old model work.
Yeah.
What's like like all jokes aside, and I'll say this because the funny thing is I mentioned Avowed, and I got to give a big shout out to oh shit, who's behind Avowed now? Why can't I remember? Obsidian, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, like they charted number 7, brand new game. And that's with having to compete against Game Pass, and factoring that the cannibalization of sales of Game Pass. That chart at number 7, I think that's pretty impressive. Also speaks against the narrative that I don't know who said it, but it was Doomsayer Logic. People are like, oh, Avowed's mid, no one's gonna buy it. Well, no, people did buy it.
Hey, but BRAP, but the problem is that Obsidian needs to step up. I mean, they were acquired by Microsoft. I mean, look, Sony buys a studio, and those studios make AAA games. You got Returnal. No, that's hogwash, stupid poppycock, right? As I said before, the purpose of those studios that were acquired under Microsoft. Look, we have lots of negative things to say about Microsoft, but the purpose of Microsoft acquiring those studios was not for those studios to change their personalities and inherently become different studios than they are. Many studios want to hone and stick to the ethos and the fabric and like the personality, the culture that they've tried to cultivate. And one of the things about Obsidian is they're not interested in making quadruple A Michael Bay blockbuster level games, right? They want to do their thing, and that's exactly what they've done. And they've stuck to their guns, and they've done Avowed, and now here it sits right at the top of the charts.
Yeah, I mean, let them. I love Obsidian being Obsidian. I don't think there's any I know what you're talking about. We had somebody actually come in a couple weeks ago, like, oh, they should step. No, let them do their thing. I mean, not everyone needs to be Housemarque. Not Like, not everyone needs to do that. They're making good games.
Or even not everyone needs to be PlayStation, right? Like it gets
Yes,
so
thank
twisted,
you.
right? This yes. We have lots of negative things to say about Xbox, but what we don't sit on the show and say is Xbox needs to do the exact same thing PlayStation does. No, like we're gonna talk about some of the knuckleheads who are running around writing fan fiction, like expressing, incredibly, way overly hyperbole about what Xbox is doing. But we're also not saying Xbox needs to do the same thing PlayStation does. There's one thing Xbox needs to do that PlayStation does: make great games, right? All this other stuff that like these constant Christmas tree ornaments that get dangled on like every Xbox story, Game Pass, would you play anywhere, Smart Buy, like yes, those things are great for people, but they don't make any difference unless you make great games, right? And that's the one thing that we say that they need to do that like PlayStation does, so they can end up with games in the charts, and we're all getting better games.
I want to actually put this out there. You guys said about Saber. I platinumed Space Marine 2, and I'm going to say this: the trophy list and everything. It is a grind to platinum it, but it's actually a really fun grind because you're going into the operations and stuff like that. You get to sit there and kill Xenos and whatever else. But they made a great fun. I mean, I had a blast for a month with that game. It was just great. That's just like you said, Logic. They don't need to do what Sony does. Just make great games, and it's just like what was it, Field of Dreams? You build it, they will come. Oh, just make great games, and people are going to buy them.
Yeah, when I say make great games, I'm not saying it's got to be a 9 or a 10. It's got to win awards. Like the games need to be solid. But here's the biggest thing, and here's the smell that wafts off a game that you can always tell. In my mind, is the thing that really turns gamers off, right? Just like we're talking about Assassin's Creed tonight. What the game needs to be filled with is the conviction of the development team, right? It needs to be a game that they believe in, and a game that they're committed to, and a game that sticks consistently right to the theme that they put behind the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point, Logic. But the one thing, all jokes aside about this list, we always talk about like the narratives that are out there. I know Doomsayer, you alluded to some of those. Here we are looking at the data. The data is always opposite of what these people are saying.
Exactly.
Like they never get it right. And then they try to obfuscate the data, which I don't know how you do that. The numbers are the numbers, it is what it is. You can't obfuscate this. You could try, but I mean, the data's right there in black and white. So, all right, let me scroll down here to the year-to-date top 20 best-selling games. So this is the best games of 20 or top-selling games of 2025. Year-to-date, Monster Hunter Wilds is number 1. Kingdom Come Deliverance is 2. Civilization 3 is 3. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is 4. NBA 2K25 is 5. PGA Tour 2K25 is 6. Madden 25 is 7. Grand Theft Auto 5 is 8. EA Sports is 9. Minecraft is 10. Red Dead Redemption 2 is 11. Marvel Spider-Man is 12. Avowed is 13. EA Sports 25 is 14. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is 15. Hogwarts Legacy is 16. Donkey Kong Country Returns, Nintendo 17. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii 18. Helldivers 2 19. Elden Ring 20.
Yeah, and Josh here brings up a comment in the chat, which is kind of now like literally I just bought PGA Tour last night, and part of the reason was because I had FOMO because I wanted to buy EA's I think it was EA's PGA game last year, but it was like way down on my list. I never got around to it, but I have fond memories of playing that game on PC, like way back in the day, and I was like, oh yeah, I'd actually like to play a golf game. And Josh says, does PGA Tour normally sell this well? I don't think so. Like, it's not prominent in my memory, right, over the last 20 years of a PGA game being up here in the list. Now, I would sometimes be driven to assess whether that's because the release schedule has been soft, but the release schedule hasn't been soft. So, and that's a paid game. Like, there is no way to access PGA Tour other than to buy it. Because, Strauss don't play that.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see it up there too, because I don't recall those games being big sellers. I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but
And it's not like sometimes you get weird inflections like that when like there's something going on in the sport that makes the sport big, like a new personality. Like I'm sure like when Tiger came onto the scene, you know, PGA games sold really well, right? When he picked up his license, what do they call that? Sponsorship deal.
yeah.
But there's nothing like that going on. Like, and we're in the midst of football, like NFL season just wrapped up, Formula One season just started. Like, it's not the biggest sport like on everybody's mind right now, but I don't know, whatever. There it goes.
Yeah, that's interesting because you're right. Like, obviously people are playing golf in warmer climates, but in terms of like the big tournaments, the Masters is coming up here in about a month or so, or not actually less, maybe about 3 weeks if I'm not mistaken. 2 or 3 weeks.
Usually right after the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, so that's coming up, and that I've always looked at the Masters kind of the kickoff to the PGA Tour, some of the bigger events, when there tends to be a little bit more eyes on golf. Although they are doing that indoor golf league, I forget what it's called. I don't know if you've seen that, Doomsayer Logic, but it's been on ESPN. Tiger Woods has played, Rory McIlroy's played in it. There's different cities have different teams, and it's like you're teeing off like basically in an arena into a large screen. I got to look it up. I forget what it's called. I don't know if that's
or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know if that's driving any eyes on golf or more, not any eyes, but more eyes on golf. And maybe that's what's behind. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I can't remember who. Somebody in the chat, was it Corey or Josh? Josh against Happy Gilmore 2 just got a trailer, so that maybe that's possibly. We won't see that until next month, because that was a March event. So,
oh my gosh, Happy Gilmore! I can't believe they're coming out with another Happy Gilmore movie.
Yeah, I just want to say this. I'm going to say this wrong. Divil Civiv Gaming. I apologize, but great that you actually picked that up. I hope you have fun with it. I had some great times with it. Yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game because it's been advertised actually on Twitter too. Forgive Me, Father. Part 2 has been advertised like crazy on it, so you'll have a good time if you know. So I appreciate it.
The Arnold Palmer Invitational. Yeah, that was a week ago, but that's not like I don't look at that as like a marquee event where I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but it's not, anyhow. All right. In terms of hardware, PlayStation 5 was once again the best-selling hardware platform of the month across both units and dollars. Xbox Series ranked second in both measures. After each platform's first 52 months in market, PlayStation 5 unit sales exceeded PlayStation 4 sales pace by 7%. Again, this is in the United States. It's not globally. PS5, go back to the data and the narratives that people tend to put out there about PlayStation. The PlayStation 5 is currently outpacing the PlayStation 4 by 7%. So what does that tell us about demand? While Xbox Series now trails Xbox One by 19%. I'm not surprised by the hardware number Xbox. I'm just not. I don't say this to this is what often is frustrating to me, Doomsayer. Some of the people out there who spread misinformation seem to live in an alternate universe. But I mean, if you just, this isn't hard to understand, right? The consumer market is saying loud and clear that they want PlayStation 5s more than they do the Xbox Series consoles. The market is also showing us that they want it more than they do the PlayStation 4 by 7%. The market is saying, do you want the Xbox Series S less than we did the Xbox One by 19%? Those are the numbers. Those numbers don't lie. I don't.
Well, go ahead, Brap. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
Listen, some of the people that I've talked to, you can just go ahead.
You look confused, Doomsayer. You just like.
You can ask David this. He was arguing with a gentleman that the gentleman sat there and said, Microsoft is a $3 trillion company. They have unlimited amounts of money, unlimited funds. And David went to the gentleman and said, no, they don't. They have assets and things like that, but cash on hand, they do not have. They cannot go out and buy other companies or other publishers, things like that. And this gentleman was like, nah, you're bullshit. He's like, it's right there in the statements. Just, you can read it right there in the statements. I'm not hiding anything. When you sit there and say it's right there in front of you, Brad, to be honest with you, I kind of think a lot of these people are illiterate. I don't think they can read or they can't comprehend. And Logic knows this. I don't know anything about this, but I can comprehend this stuff and figure out, yeah, PlayStation, people like PlayStation, and Xbox just isn't doing it anymore. And then I also think Xbox has done this to themselves by saying, we're just going to start putting everything everywhere and we're going to put it on PlayStation. And if it was me, I would have waited until like after Grand Theft Auto, because I really honestly think that Grand Theft Autos can help them sell consoles. I don't think they're going to sell 20 million consoles, but there might be a good spike to them. But they don't wait for nothing. If it don't work within the first 5 minutes, it's like, all right, push it aside. Let's start on something new. A lot of these people, and I've talked to you before the show and that, I'm not going to name any names. It's you can't talk to them. There's just no talking to them. No matter how much fact you bring out, even in their face, they're not going to believe it. So I just sat there and said, I don't need this. I don't need you in my life. I'm muting or blocking you, whatever it is, and just going to keep moving on. It's not worth it, especially the stress.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. Again, but this goes back to, the data, right? What the data is saying, what the data is showing us based on consumer behavior, consumption of PlayStation, Xbox. All right, let's go. Accessory spending in February declined 8% versus your average of 220 million. Year-to-date accessory spending is now 18% behind 2024's pace. 2025 year-to-date consumer spending on Game Pass has declined 17% compared to a year ago, while headphone spending has fallen 25%. The PlayStation Portal-based model was again the month's best-selling accessory in consumer spending. The PS5 Portal remote player Midnight Black ranked third overall, with the PS5 DualSense Edge wireless control Midnight Black placed 5.
Who is the Portal 4 again? I thought that was. I kept on hearing who's it for?
One of life's great mysteries.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, who's the Apple Watch for? I mean, the iWatch. I mean, who asked for that?
Hey, my wife put one on me so she can track me at all times. So that's the reason why they made the Apple Watch. So.
Just to track you, Doomsayer. Yeah. So she knows when you go to those strip clubs.
I'm not saying anything right now because she's literally right above me. So I'm not saying nothing. I'm keeping my mouth shut on that one. But I do have a stack of ones in the dresser, though.
Oh my gosh. That's the giveaway. If you have a stack of ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Logic, any thoughts on the rest of Circana numbers? Anything stand out to you?
No.
All right, let's stop sharing here. I do want to welcome somebody who I've missed dearly. and I had the pleasure of podcasting with him yesterday. Although I didn't get to hear him talk a whole lot for reasons. Slow-mo. Oh, he's on mute now. He probably went to get a Red Bull.
Oh, I didn't even realize I was on mute. Hey, what's up? How's it going?
What's going on, Slow-mo? How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys?
Good. Glad, happy you could make it. Your compadre's not here, but that's okay. We have the
Yeah, I don't know where Forte is. He's probably playing NCAA football.
Somebody
seems to all he plays lately.
Somebody said that was Forte snoring over him.
Oh no, that's funny though. That is funny.
Yeah,
if he was there, he probably that probably would be accurate.
I mean, all jokes aside, Forte's fallen asleep on the show before.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
We've
heard him legitimately snoring.
I remember the one time, and this is why I permanently host DPS now. One time when Forte was hosting DPS, and podcast is over, he basically just went to sleep and didn't end the stream. And so it went on for hours. And then the next day, I'm getting like my Twitter mentions is blowing up. People sending me DMs. Slow-mo, you have to get Forte to end the stream. I'm like, what are you talking about? He ended the stream last night. And then I go check. No, the stream is still going.
Wait, what time of the morning was this?
Various parts of that stream, you hear Forte snoring, you hear burping, whatever the heck he was doing, and then just leaving, and then it was just silence and the stream going, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm blowing up his phone trying to call him.
Wait,
end the stream, Forte.
Did he fall asleep in his chair?
I think so, yeah. And I think at some point he woke up and then went to bed and still didn't see that he didn't end the stream yet.
Did anyone clip this? Does anyone have a clip of this? I'm seriously, please share this clip.
I can guarantee you it probably still go to his channel. I'm about to go find it. I'm about to find the stream. If you go to his channel, it's probably still there. Like he probably didn't even private it or edit it or cut it or anything. He's just like, nope. I'm just gonna leave this 8-hour stream of DPS podcast up. Yeah, it had been like 8-9 hours. It was freaking ridiculous.
How the hell do you fall asleep in the chair? Like I'm watching you, Brad, you're getting up and I'm like,
yeah, I gotta move. I gotta move. I can't stay still.
It's the same thing with me. I've done the podcast with Logic and that, I have to stand up sometimes because my legs start to fall asleep. It's like, how the hell do you fall asleep?
So Forte's not here to defend himself. So I'll stick up for my man.
Even if he was here, he couldn't defend himself. He would just be like, "Yeah, I did it."
Look, these secret lab chairs. I frequently, like, a podcast will wrap up, or I'll get done gaming or something. And I'll hit the switch right and drop the hydraulics, dropped it down to the floor, and take a little nap. You know. Now. I don't think I would ever do I have what I call my health and monitoring laptop over here, and whenever I live stream,
11 hours and 15 minutes. I found it. It was 2 years ago. Yeah.
So I always have
send a link. Please send a link.
I always have some other device where I'm watching the live stream, and that always also helps remind me to make sure you actually shut the live stream down. But maybe my man was exhausted.
I think he's narcoleptic.
Oh no, was it holiday season? Because look, I'm going to give him the out if it was holiday season, because you know how he works during holiday season.
2 years ago. Let's see here. What this was.
Slow-mo, drop a link, man.
I did. I put it in the private chat. Okay. It was October 27th. So yeah, that was probably it's on the
close to. He's on the ramp up to Black Friday. You know.
Yeah.
It's getting busy in the region.
Call of Duty probably coming out at that time.
He's also managing 2 stores.
I just saw the comments on this. Forgive me, Forte. I couldn't watch the whole 11 hours. Oh man, I did. That was That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Oh man. Shout out to Gaming Forte. This is I needed this laugh.
I'm surprised he hasn't jumped in. Usually, like if you say his name, he's like Candyman. He'll just jump in. You know what I mean?
Right.
You never say his name 3 times.
Gaming Forte, Gaming Forte, Gaming Forte.
No, don't do that. Don't do. Oh my God! What if he shows up? He shows up and you hear this loud snore.
That's his entrance.
Yes.
Oh man.
Like, can you imagine somehow?
No, all I know
mean. That's mean.
I've done that, and I've gotten punched in the face by the wife. She's like, "Man, you're freaking loud," and it's like, "Why?"
Hey man, do we need to have a wellness check, dude? Say, I'm starting to fear for your safety over there, man. You're like, I can't talk too loud. She's upstairs.
Oh,
go
back to the hardware numbers. I will say I missed it. This was the other highly ranking accessory that was on sale. I was also told there was no use for was the due to cats and small children walking across the floor in apartments. The PlayStation 5 DualSense Edge wireless controller with its apparently such a horrible battery that it wouldn't support the average gamer's gameplay session time.
Do you remember the outrage over that? Oh, the DualSense controller,
bro! I remember arguing with a guy for literally 12 hours on Twitter because he felt like the battery life was too low, and I kept asking him, what are you outraged about? Like, do you think that this impacts most people? And it would just take forever for him to respond, but he would always come back with like an argument, and I'm like, I
literally had someone tell me that the USB cable is too short. And then when I said you could buy a longer USB cable on Amazon, right? Like 30 feet.
I can't have long USB cables due to cats, small animals, and children walking across the floor. Like, bruh.
When my son used to have his TV behind me, and he would be running all around, and I have a 15-foot USB-C cable plugged into my PlayStation controller, so I don't have to worry about charging it. I'm like, Jesus, man, I hope he doesn't trip over or something like that. Now everything's upstairs in his room, so I don't have to worry about it no more.
Even the crazy thing in this age of innovation and all these solutions that mankind has come up with, portable battery pack, short USB cable. Right? Put like I said, drop the hydraulics, put your gaming chair down on the floor, right? Put the battery pack right at your feet, right? And run like a 5 or 6 foot cable up to your okay, I mean, it's good. It's this outrage of people making things up.
When you have house cats, you can't do that.
Oh. Can't do that around my house with the dog that I got. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, that's different because dogs will just get anything and chew shit, right? Not all dogs, but some do.
Hey, BRAP, we had this black, and I'm just going to say we had this black mat. What was it, Tuesday? I come upstairs. She basically tore the whole thing.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I'm like, oh, man.
So Corey Massey says in the chat, you had an argument that lasted longer than the DualSense Edge controller. That's it. It's a controller battery that has a shorter battery length. It would have been nice for it to be longer. There are engineering reasons why it can't. It's basically the same battery pack, right? That's in the DualSense, right? There was no change in the battery technology. Sony could have chosen to do something different, but they didn't. And my contention is, I can't even remember how long the thing lasts anymore. Is that for the average gamer? In a single seating, I think the battery life is fine. And if it's not, right, then there's lots of workarounds for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the battery was a miss, and no one asked for it, so that's why I'm angry at Sony.
You know what? Quite frankly, the no one asked for it argument to me is actually way more pertinent than the battery life argument. Because my contention on PlayStation is having these high precision controllers on Xbox, right, and for PC is, why do you need them? You need them for 2 reasons. You need them because you're playing a competitive multiplayer first-person shooter, and or because you're playing a high precision, highly demanding racing game. You only have one of those on PlayStation, really, Gran Turismo. And then you don't have like an abundance of shooters, right? You have Call of Duty. So just at volume, I'm like, I don't know that a ton of people need these at that level of precision. I just didn't think that the addressable market was that big. But like I'm not going to use that DualSense Edge controller to play God of War, right? I'm going to use it to play Call of Duty, Fortnite, or something like that. And I know that there are lots of those players there, but I also don't know that like there are so many of those players there that want that like super high end, high precision accessory in the pursuit of being competitive, or they're just on there playing with their friends. But apparently, as you were saying when I came back, right, the market has spoken, and the market says that it's a thing that they want.
Yeah, I mean and that goes back. I mean, it's funny. We're kind of joking about this. That there's a lot of punditry around these things, and then it's like you see the data, and it's complete opposite to the punditry. And it's just it happens every month. It seems like, or every quarter, where the data like disproves a lot of the stuff that we see or that we listen to in certain podcasts. Not here on this show. We don't do that tomfoolery, and neither does DPS. So just want to throw that out there.
Hey, BRAP, can I cut in for a minute? I actually got to get going, so I went a little bit too far, but I appreciate you guys having me on tonight and everything. Slow-Mo, I always miss Slow-Mo when he's ever on Wise's show, so it's nice to meet you, sir. Sorry,
it's all good, man.
But I'll get a chance here at sometime, but. Guys, have a great night, and that and thanks a lot, BRAP. I appreciate you inviting me in that. So Logic, have a good one too.
All right, catch you what you do.
All right, see you, Doomsayer. Take care, man.
See you guys later.
Yep.
Take care, bro.
All right. So Slow-Mo, no, I'm not gonna ask you that question. Never mind.
Corey Massey says the Edge is the default controller for every game. The back buttons are essential. I actually had this conversation with Forte. I called him up one day because I was like, yo, look, you work at a GameStop, so you would know, right, if there are any PlayStation controllers that just naturally have back buttons that aren't the DualSense Edge. And he was like, yeah, look, man, you just need to get a DualSense Edge. And I was just like, really? Because like I can find like any I'm just picking up a controller right now. I got I got this GameSir Cyclone 2. It's got back buttons on it. It was like $55. I got another GameSir that was $30 that has back buttons on it. They only have 2 in the back, which is that's probably the one downside of the GameSir controllers. But I got a Razer Wolverine 3 that's got 4 back buttons on it. I got Gillakit King Kong that has back paddles that are removable, and then you got like your Xbox Elite controller. It's just like you tell me the only option I have for back buttons outside of actually having to take a controller apart and do the attachment myself on a PlayStation controller is the DualSense Edge. That's not cool, man.
Have you ever thought, and I know that the word on the street is that they're overrated, but just out of curiosity, have you ever bought a Scuff?
I have not had a Scuff before, so I can't speak to their overrated nature.
The Scuff makes one for PlayStation.
They make one that has back. How much is it? Because it's like, this is what we kind of be like, all right, is it worth it?
I don't think it's cheap.
It's like $300 controller. The Hertz Scuff is overrated. Like if the polling rate is still Hertz is like $250 and you're a $300 controller, I would go drive to your headquarters to throat punch you. Like why are you even pricing a controller like that with like so little features? And I don't know if this is, like the way the disparity is, considering how on other platforms I can just get controllers with Hall effect thumbsticks. Now, even the very best Hall effect, by the way, there are various versions, but basically thumbsticks where you don't have to deal with stick drift. It's not even the best thing. I think the technology now is called TFT, I can't remember the initials to it, but there's a newer technology that's even better than Hall effect when it comes to accuracy with thumbsticks. Like what we get now with these base controllers is just garbage. They're garbage controllers. I don't want to use them ever. If I don't have a controller that has back buttons on it, I don't want it. So, unless I got no choice, which is essentially what I'm stuck with on PlayStation. I refuse, considering the fact that I can get a controller for $50 that's better than the default controllers you get on these platforms, like light years better with back buttons. I refuse to spend over like $100 just to get basic features that should be in every controller at this point in time. So you keep that DualSense Edge. It's too daggone expensive for what it does. There are better controllers comparatively. If I put them like together on like PC and then actually tested them out, there are better controllers out there. I just want to play something when I play my PlayStation that actually has like these basic features that should be in every controller for a reasonable price. And I will say this, and I've been said it, when it comes to the Elite controller, why is it that the Elite controller for the Xbox is like basically a last gen controller? It don't even have a share button. And it's because they haven't updated this controller in like 8 or 9 years. Like, what is going on? And when they come out with a 3.0, which I know they're working on, I actually know the code name of it. I ain't going to say what it is. But when that controller comes out, if it does not have Hall effect thumbsticks, I'm flying to Redmond. I'm going to find the person that designed it. He better protect his neck because he's getting throat punched. Like immediately. Not even saying the word. I'm not going to say hello, how are you? Just throat punch, and then I'm getting on the flight and going back home. So yeah.
That sounds very aggressive, Slow-Mo.
So Slow-Mo,
yeah.
Ignore that link I dropped in the private chat because all those are super expensive controllers. The one thing that occurred to me,
I am not spending $500 on a controller that does basic stuff. Now, go ahead.
So the one thing that did occur to me though, have you looked at any of the Thrustmaster controllers? Because those controllers are less expensive. I have the eSwap Pro and this eSwap. Wait, I have the eSwap Pro X and the eSwap Pro XR, I think, which are Xbox oriented controllers, and they are wired. But
I'm fine with wired. I'm really fine with wired. I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm good with wired because of how close. Like my PlayStation is right beside me in my office, so.
But they do have
wired shouldn't be a problem.
But they do have back buttons, and they are less expensive.
And these are PlayStation controllers, right?
Yes. Yeah. I
will look them up.
The ones I have are the Xbox ones, but they do have PlayStation variants.
Okay. Yeah. I've actually seen this list before because I've done the research on this. I've seen this list before, Logic, and I was just like, okay, cool. What is that price? No. Cool. Are you serious? And then, you just go down the list. Okay, but Thrustmaster. Okay, let me look into it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the ones they have, you may give up some dual sense features.
That's fine. Sony has that locked down, and I get it. I get why they would lock that down, is to kind of keep the DualSense to be, unique and so basically a tier above the rest of the controllers. I get it. That's fine. I just want back buttons. I just want back buttons and Hall effect thumbsticks. That's really what I want, because I don't even play my PlayStation very often, but I've killed 2 controllers at this point with stick drift and the thumbsticks. So I would just like to not have to deal with that again.
All right. Cool. I want to get to Assassin's Creed Shadows. So that released yesterday. And let me just pull up give me a sec here. Looks like it's 4.5 on Steam right now. Currently sits at an 81 on Metacritic based on 76 Reviews. Actually, I said 81 on PS5. It sits at 85 on Xbox and 78 on on PC. So I did actually pick this game up. Logic shamed me for picking it up through Ubisoft Connect.
Yeah, you didn't really pick it up. I mean,
I picked it up.
You subscribed to access to it.
Look, Logic. Let me just.
I mean,
Connect.
If you leased a Lexus, I wouldn't let you get away with saying you'd bought a Lexus.
Keeps my kids safe. Allows me to put food on the table.
Hey, egg and fuel and energy prices are high.
Yeah, exactly. Those things are really high. So, but yeah, no, I did get Ubisoft Connect or Plus. So I did subscribe to the service, $17 a month. So I could play Assassin's Creed Shadows. So a couple things real quick, Logic. So we talked earlier about the performance that I was having, the frames, and what I realized was on my Nvidia dashboard, I had on my when I hooked it up to my OLED C1, I had it resolution set to 4K. So that was the issue. And I was getting like, actually, I went back and played with 4K. I was getting like 55 frames per second in 4K.
So that's a definite. It's great you bring that up. It's a definite engineering instance of when you ask me the question, me answering it based on my own paradigm. So my own paradigm on PC, I do not use the automatically optimized games button in the Nvidia app, and I'm convinced that you do, right?
No, I don't use it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I just had on the dashboard. I had it when I switched to my TV, because whatever game I was playing before, I was playing it at 4K because I could do it. And so rather than it defaulting to 1440 on my OLED, I had it set to 4K because my OLED can display 4K resolution, right? So what I did so when I switched it back to 1440p, because I noticed what I did before the show went live, I was like, let me play it on the PC. And I played it on the PC, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting like 115 frames per second, the same settings. What? Something's wrong here. Went back to the dashboard. Really, okay, this is the problem.
But you're on a 1440p monitor.
Yes.
So shouldn't have. I mean, are you sure it hadn't? It should have auto switched the resolution. Like it shouldn't be putting out at a resolution that's greater than your monitor can handle. I mean, there's signals.
No, it was putting out 4K on my TV. Because I was playing through my TV first, so it was.
But when you came to me and said you were getting crappy frame rates, you were telling me your frame rates you were getting on TV.
No, TV, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then when I played on my PC, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like I'm getting 115 frames, the same settings. What's going on? And then I was like, I checked the Nvidia dashboard, and I saw, okay, I'm set to 4K on my TV, and that's why I'm getting that 55, 52 frames per second at 4K with medium settings. So now I went back, I changed it. So on my TV, I'm getting like 115 frames per second, and I'm at medium settings. And I did turn on the hair feature. I might turn up ray tracing now because I'm at 115 frames. So I might crank that up a tad bit, maybe mess around with some of the settings that are medium, maybe crank those to high, not all of them. Or I may crank all of them high and see what that does. But yeah, I mean, so that's what I was able to figure out. I've only put about, I don't know. I'm not far in the game. I played as Yusuke. Now I'm playing as the female protagonist. I forget her name now. But just some of my early impressions.
Naue.
Thank you. Naue. Yeah. So I'm playing as Naue. I got to say,
I think that's her name.
Okay. So you set me up, man. I'm like, now I'm like, yeah, that's it.
No. Look, me and Forte had this conversation last night, and then someone in the chat literally put in the words "now" and "way," and I was like, I think that's how they pronounce it. And we just go now way. If we wrong, we're just gonna be wrong.
Yeah, it is Naue. It's Naoe.
See, I told you.
But it's Fuji Bayasha Nawe. She's a shinobi in the game, stealth-based shinobi. So just early impressions, and I'll let you guys have the platform here, or I'll let you guys take the mic here in just a second. But I like the combat from what I played so far. It does. I know this was brought up last time on Crossfire. Slow-mo does remind me a little bit of Ghosts of Tsushima. That's not a bad thing in terms of combat. Although Nawe, I like some of the stealth with her. They kind of introduce you in the beginning to the way she can traverse and use stealth. That's more lines, I think, of traditional Assassin's Creed than Yusuke, who's just a straight beast. I mean, he just goes out there and just decapitates people.
Yusuke is nasty with it. I Spartan kicked a guy through a house in that first 15 minutes. It was amazing.
Right? I mean, Yusuke is he is OP. I did that thing where you hold down, I think it's the L button, the L trigger button, and then like the Y or something, Y button together. And then you just do like that dash, and the screen turns black and white. And you you dash through the enemy with your sword. Like Yusuke, thank you. Ramon's like, what does he say? Not Yusuke. Yeah, Yasuke. What is it? I don't know what it is, Ramon. I'm sorry. Yusuke? What is it?
Yeah, this actor over here, this Hallmark 2022 actor of the year over here, Mr. Pronunciation Police.
Ramon's like, that's not accurate, Enrique. You need to be accurate.
It's Yasuke. Say it's Yasuke.
It's Yasuke. Say it with me. Use your vowels.
Right. I haven't played it.
Wait, I'm not done talking, Slow-mo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why are you interrupting me, man?
I was trying to help you pronounce words. All right. Well, never mind. You could mispronounce everything for the rest of the show. Go ahead.
Hey, Forte does it all the time. So, and we give him a pass. So anyhow, I'm playing as Yasuke and the other one, Nawe, and the two. I mean, obviously they're two different characters. Like Slow-mo said, Yasuke is just, the guy, just decapitates people. That's just the brutality of his attacks. It's great. I loved it. I'm like, this is what I'm here for. That brutality kind of remind me of Ghost of Tsushima a little bit. But then, like I said, Nawe, from what I played of her so far, very much more that traditional Assassin's Creed stealth mechanic. So, but I'm liking it. Like I haven't played a lot of it, but I like the setting in feudal Japan. I feel like this is a kind of I don't want to say this is a reboot for the franchise, but this is a nice.
Did you say feudal?
Feudal.
Japan?
I said feudal Japan. I say feudal. See now.
Okay. No. Go ahead. Continue.
I'm not Forte.
That's what I thought I heard. Logic's laughing. I think Logic heard the same thing. We just let it rock.
Japan. Did I say feudal Japan? See, now you got me. You got me.
Feudal Japan.
No, I didn't. Did I? Let's ask the chat. Did I say feudal Japan or feudal Japan? All right. Anyhow, so
poor Japan. It's in the fetal position. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So I like what I played so far. I definitely want to go back and play it, and I'm happy I got it on Ubisoft Plus Logic. All right. So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows?
I'll go first because I'm pretty sure I've played it the least among the three of us. I've only got like an hour in.
Oh yeah, I might be ahead of you there.
Yeah, I haven't. I played less than you. Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to really play much today, and I barely had an opportunity to play it yesterday when it came out. But from what I played so far, I'm enjoying it. I'm not a big Assassin's Creed guy. Like I'm not big at the stealth. I'm definitely a pew 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 kind of dude. Run in, be loud, kill everyone as much as possible, and aura farm where I do it, like kind of guy. So going stealth is just not my style. So the first 3 games I never cared for, and I there was too much bloat when they switched it to like an action RPG-ish action adventure kind of game. But this, I do agree on the change the combat. I think they need to stick with this because this is good. I think they finally found like the happy medium in between the two game designs of the previous Assassin's Creed games. I think it really works from what I've seen so far. We're talking with some others who have played much longer in the game. I don't know why. Well, I guess I'll understand it more once I experience it myself. But I don't know why they basically have you playing as Naue for a very long time before you get to go back to Yasuke. It's just weird because like you're Yasuke for like 15 minutes, and then you're Naue for like 20 hours or something like that. Like 15 hours is you as Naue, which, I mean, story wise, I maybe they wanted to establish her struggle, and I've experienced basically the prologue and a little bit more than the prologue. So I like what I've seen so far, and I like her and her personality in general. It's just to go that long without going, switching to the other one is a bit strange. On the outside looking in, I haven't played it yet. I haven't played that part of it yet.
Do you get the option to like once you get access back to Yusuke again? Do you get the option to go back and forth?
So.
Okay.
I believe so. But it just takes a while to get there, which is. I mean, look, it's fine. It's because her combat, she's very different, and because she's smaller. She's a shinobi. Her attacks are faster. She doesn't do as much damage. She doesn't overpower enemies like him. So you have to be a bit more tactical when you fight with her, which is fine. Because there's 2 very different styles. She can go to, the rooftops where he can't. They have their own strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. And she is much like faster to dodge, roll out of the way from attacks and things like that. I think, and this was interesting. They spent a lot of extra time and polish on the game, which I think has worked out. Anvil engine looks awesome. It's the engine they've used for all Assassin's Creed games. The improvements they made to it look great. The environment looks awesome.
Guys, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Breaking news, actually, and unfortunate breaking news. It's been reported that George Foreman has passed away at the age of 76.
Oh wow! Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, just popped up. So wow. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. This is
Yeah, I get it, man. Great boxer. Huge, impactful man, and outside of the ring as well as inside the ring. Very, very unfortunate, and prayers to his family. For sure.
Yeah, I mean that is the announcement by the family. Our hearts are broken with profound sorrow. We announce the passing of our beloved George Edward Foreman Sr., who peacefully departed on March 21st, 2025, surrounded by loved ones, a devout preacher, a devout husband, a loving father, a proud grand and great grandfather. He lived a life marked by unwavering faith, humility, and purpose. A humanitarian, Olympian, and 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. He was deeply respected, a force for good, a man of discipline, conviction, and protector of his legacy, fighting tirelessly to preserve his good name for his family. We're grateful for the outpouring of love and prayers, and kindly ask for privacy as we honor the extraordinary life of a man we were blessed to call our own. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. Like I said, it just that
definitely that's something definitely worth speaking on, for sure. No, I mean, to kind of get back to the topic, despite horrific news, I think the performance of the game is good. At least it is for me. I may be a special case considering I have a high-end PC. So I'm there may be some people that just like, man, this game is really heavy on the hardware that they have. But I didn't really see that. I guess I'm playing 4K max settings, max ray tracing. I'm getting I mean, of course, we're like frame gen on and using DLSS quality, but I'm getting like 85 frames per second with all that turned up to the max.
Oh wow!
Now,
What card are you using again? You're using a
4080 Super.
Wow, and you got how's it look with ray tracing? You got everything hot, all the settings high, but how's it look like with ray tracing? Everything high settings?
The environment looks great. Looks beautiful. I think character model wise, and it always kind of. I mean, maybe I'm a little particular about this, but I always kind of felt like with Ubisoft games that their character models aren't the best. I think the main characters look good, but like some of the side characters, they just seem to lack a level of detail with that. But I mean, they're fine. It's not like they look horrible. But it's just the everything else, the armor, the materials you see on people, clothing, the world itself, fantastic looking. Looks amazing. One weird thing, and I brought this up to Logic because I wanted to see if someone else was having this issue, but for some reason, DLSS is like playing peekaboo on the game. It's like every other time I launch it, DLSS is not available, and it's weird. You have to like, and it's kind of annoying. I hope they patch this quickly because you got to check at this point to see if it's even on. You need to on PC if you have an Nvidia GPU. It's like every other time, not every other time, but literally every time I launch the game, I need to go in and check to make sure that DLSS is not missing in the options again. When it is missing, I just switch to XESS because it's not using. I mean, FSR4 is only for the 9070 cards anyway, so it's not like I can use that. But I refuse to use FSR 3.0, so I just use XESS and FSR frame gen in those instances. But it's just weird that it keeps appearing and disappearing like that. I hope they patch that soon because that's annoying. But other than that, it's been good so far, and that for me that's surprising considering I think the only Assassin's Creed game I've enjoyed was Odyssey, and I still didn't finish that one because there was way too much bloat in it, and it just I would look at the world map and just see icons everywhere, and I just say nah, I'm not doing this. So yeah, I'm enjoying it though. It's cool.
Yeah, I think to your point. Slow-mo, like I think the environmentals look really good, but you're right, the character models like but like even like early on, like when you're like the first like opening scene where there's like a battle and there's fire everywhere, like that looked really good. And even when you're walking into when you're walking into, are they in the city of Kyoto? Is that where they, I don't remember if that was where they were when they meet what's his face? I forget the Shogun at the Nobunaga. They meet Nobunaga the first time. Oda Nobunaga. Yeah, they meet.
I don't remember what city that was. I wasn't.
I thought it was Kyoto. I could be wrong.
It probably was. I was kind of paying attention, but not fully. Like I think the city that they were in, I wasn't paying attention to that, but more along the dialogue that was going on, especially with the way he was kind of interviewing Yasuke. That was pretty interesting. Basically the recruitment of him from the Portuguese.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Portuguese,
the
Portuguese fathers. I'm assuming the Catholic. I'm assuming they're Catholics.
They're Catholic, yeah.
Yeah, but they're seeking permission to have the fathers, kind of roam, the lands.
Yeah, I would say this, and I'm not saying you need to do this, but I will say, I feel like coming to this game is particularly rewarding if you have recently watched Shogun right?
I was
Because it
about to
gives
say
you a
that.
lot of that backstory.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I just got done binging Shogun like tail end of last year. So it gives you, it fills in like a lot of that kind of background, like, and kind of props you up, right, in your awareness and knowledge of at least some of the backstory, at least as a cross reference, right? And then you play this, so that for me, that's working out really good.
Yeah, it's a great point, Logic. I mean, I was actually getting ready to say that, like when I saw the Portuguese fathers there, and kind of their, the way they were, let's say they're plotting, and there's very much that plotting in Shogun by the, by the Portuguese priests. I mean, there's certainly an end game for them, and they're at times manipulative, or trying to be manipulative of the Japanese. And so I think I caught on to that a little bit, the opening sequence when they meet Nobunaga. By the way, I don't know if anyone's played Nobunaga's Ambition, but that's a great like RTS game back in the days. I think Koei Tecmo published it. I don't know if anyone's played it, but one of my favorite games on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So, I'm
hey,
go
real
ahead,
quick, something that the footage you're showing highlight, I think, is a good change for Ubisoft. Everyone knows that, like, the Ubisoftness of a open world Ubisoft game, where you find a tower, you activate it or something, and then all these like almost like scattered like Skittles, icons of repetitive side missions pop up all around that tower, and then you do them until you just basically can't take it anymore, and you try to just mainline the game to get done with it, kind of stuff. Whereas now with these towers, they're a bit different. You can you actually have to highlight manually. You're not activating anything clearly, because it's like it's feudal Japan, like with you activating, right? But like you actually have to highlight these things by the character looking themselves, and then you don't even know what's there. So so you have to actually go there to find out what is there. If it turns out to be a castle or whatever, some kind of like base or whatever you may have to take over. But I thought that was a good change, because it promotes exploration, and apparently, from what people who've much further along have told me, is that there are good benefits and rewards to clearing those places out, like legendary kind of gear. So it's worth it to do it. So I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, the one thing I think was interesting too was the Pathfinder addition to Assassin's Creed. Because if I'm not mistaken, that is new. If I'm not mistaken, like, and that is very that's reminiscent of Ghosts of Tsushima, where you would use kind of the winds, right, to guide you.
Yeah.
They use a straight line, this Pathfinder, and I actually like that, because for somebody like me who maybe doesn't want to do a lot of exploration, or doesn't want to go off the beaten path, if you will, I like that there's that option to kind of guide me to where I need to go to complete the main objective.
Yeah.
Yes, please hit that like button. Thank you, Anonymous Boss. For those watching, please hit that like button. Appreciate the support as always. Logic, yeah, I know you've spent some time with the game. What are your initial impressions so far?
I enjoy it, but I'm an Ubisoft stan, so like large numbers of Slow-Mo's comments about the stuff in an Ubisoft game and an Assassin's Creed game that he doesn't like, I actually do enjoy. So this was always kind of a me kind of game, right? And that's just my own personal bias. But like I said, like from a story perspective, again, kind of rolling off of having just watched Shogun, and my interest in the Japanese culture, Japanese history, and I'm not some deep bookworm about it, but that it stems all the way back to when I was a history student in college. So I love it, and having the opportunity to kind of explore that backdrop in game has been fun. But my main comments are about the game's performance. I think I don't know what's going on I mean, we're kind of in a new space, right? So I think historically, from a content perspective, we've had, we've had tech tubers, right? And people who assess hardware. We're kind of in this new era where now there are these things called PC performance analyses that sites do, where against a specific game, they run benchmarks against different sets of hardware. And this year in particular, after my experience in Monster Hunter Wilds and Avowed, and going into Assassin's Creed, I've just found that it's necessary to really spend some time as a PC gamer looking at these PC performance analyses, because there are so, like, studios right now are just putting out stuff that isn't always going to behave in the way that you expect it to behave when it hits your hardware. And I think now more than ever, it's become necessary to become very well informed as a PC gaming consumer. What I will say is problematic with this content from my experience this time is, number one, those analyses are not thorough. Sites are testing against kind of a scatological set of hardware, and like, I get it. Like, every site can't have like a vast laboratory filled with every SKU of CPU, GPU, memory configuration. I get that. But a lot of the testing that I see, like, I'm like, is this a primary card on the market? Like I don't get it. And then a specific hole then is like if you're going to test against that stuff, like, you've got to give people equivalencies. Like, I'm testing on an Radeon RX 6750 XT. I know not a ton of these cards are out in the wild. Here's its nearest Nvidia equivalent, right? And those things aren't being done. The second thing I'll say is some of the walkaway analyses that some of these sites are coming out with are just, to me, are completely wackadoodle. And one of those was, part of my impression of what was going on with this game before I just finally said F it and I just bought it myself, was the assessment that in order to have a 60 frames per second or above experience, you need to be on an RTX 5090. And that is just absolutely untrue for my own anecdotal incremental testing. And in Slow-Mo's report that he's saying, his own experience in the game. And then the last thing I'll say is the other thing that is not happening that these sites need to do is they're also not just taking, like, look, just great, Scott. Take the PC specs, right? Take the minimum, the recommended, and the elite experience PC specs and test those three, right? And just simply report at a bare minimum whether or not the studio has delivered on their own things that they advertised the game was going to be capable of. I wasn't seeing that right in the PC performance analyses that I was looking at for this game. So for my own experience, where I've tested this is on a rig that is actually that one that's trying to point over here, that's glowing back there in the background. That's on a Ryzen 9 5950X. It's on with a 360 millimeter AIO, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, and an RTX 4070 Super. I'm at 1440p, FOV 101, target frame rate's 115. DLSS is on in performance mode. Ray tracing is on. RTGI is diffuse everywhere. High quality presets, and I'm using hair strands, but just players only. And I'm getting around 124 frames per second. Right. So I did a long write up today about just kind of where I think you need to be from a hardware perspective in the PC space if you're trying to play AAA games in 2025. But this is a title that I'm fairly comfortable saying right now, right? Just based on Slow-Mo's statement and my statement that this is a console title. This is a PC title that is safe from a performance perspective. I don't think you need to shy away from this, like I might say you should for Monster Hunter Wilds, which is basically kind of the same doo-doo that Dragon's Dogma 2 was last year. I don't think you need to, if you're on a Radeon card, be shy away from this like I would say you should with Avowed. I think this one's fairly safe to get in the pool on. I also want to compliment you, BRAP. Thanks a lot for approving the network budget to have both PC correspondents on the show at once. I know you've been particular about not allowing that, not having us both on with on the same airtime overlapping because of the expense. So I just want to say thanks for allowing that for tonight.
Look, I would love to have Slow-Mo on every Friday, but Slow-Mo is a busy man apparently. So, no, I think it's
on Fridays it's nappy time for me, and I'm kidding. Recently I've had a lot of stuff with family always pop up on Fridays, and so I'm juggling a lot of things with kids and mom needing me to run over there and take care of things. So I always, and even like reason why I'm late tonight, mom. So
so you need to tell the kids to feed themselves, and that daddy's got podcasting to do. I'm joking. Don't say that. I'm joking.
So Machine XP is saying in the chat, and the only reason I'm commenting on this is just to try to put information out there for consumers, right? Machine XP is saying Avowed and Shadows runs well on PC. I will just say in my own personal testing, and again, for people who don't know, right here in the lab, I have a configuration of 5 different PCs that scale and run a range, right, of CPUs, from an Alder Lake Intel CPU to up to a Ryzen 9 7950X, and GPUs until recently, GPUs from a Radeon 6700 XT up to an RTX 4080. And what I'll say is my own experience in Avowed, and Machine XP is saying after the update. So this was as of like yesterday. My experience with Avowed on PC on a Radeon card was just like miles off the drum beat from the experience. I do not feel that game is well optimized for at least older Radeon cards. Maybe for the most recent, maybe. I didn't have the opportunity to personally test that, but I would say, for a card that was like an RTX 3000 series equivalent, absolutely not. I had to finagle a ton with settings and wound up having to run a combination of medium and low settings, ray tracing off, to get that game to perform at I think I was finally able to get it to into like the mid 70s frames per second. But it looks like doo-doo, right, when I do that. And outside of that, I could barely keep it like above 60 frames per second. I mean, I had to like my base experience was like high 50s to like mid 50s to low 60s, and I had to go in and do a lot of tweaking to get it. But by comparison, on an RTX 4070, like the game runs at like 115 frames per second average, right, with dips down to the low 100 and up as high as like 130 something frames per second. So on an RTX card, it's at least a 4000 series.
That's at 1440p.
Yes, yeah. Almost. Just, I'm saying this for the rest of the show, but like almost 99% of the time that I'm reporting performance, I'm playing at 1440p.
Gotcha. Yeah. I like to. If it's a single player game, I like to play at 4K or attempt, as long as I can do 4K max settings with ray tracing at 60, I'll deal with it. If it's a multiplayer game, I need minimum 120 frames per second. So in order to make sure I get that, depending on the game, I go to 1440p. So if I play like Marvel Rivals or Fortnite, I don't need to go to 1440p for those. But if I'm playing Call of Duty, especially since considering Call of Duty, it runs very much in favor more of AMD GPUs than Nvidia GPUs. I just do 1440p because I mean I could do 4K and then drop settings the low like a lot of the COD sweats do. Yeah, I just can't visually do that to my eyes. So I just go to 1440p and still max everything out, and I get like 140 to 165 FPS. So yeah.
I'll also just mention as a fact, by complete luck, right, in one of those classic stories of like stuff just fixing itself, the RTX 4070 I had pulled out of that box, RTX 4070 Super, that I pulled it out of that box that I swore I needed to RMA. Just on a whim, I threw it back in that box, and while the Radeon card was in there, I was able to clear out all the drivers, clear out all the Nvidia stuff. Then I threw the 4070 Super back in there. Installed new drivers, which were 4 drivers past what I had on there when I started having the problems. And it amazingly fixed itself and it's up and running. So I'm very much more happier with the lab configuration than I have been over the last 2 weeks when I've been desperately hunting for a replacement GPU.
For that NVIDIA GPU, do not go to the latest firmware update for NVIDIA.
Oh man, I just installed it.
I went to upgrade to it, and the black screen is back.
Why did you warn me?
They fixed it.
Why did you warn me?
I'm sorry, Enrique. I wish that, if I didn't have a black screen, maybe I would have been able to give you a heads up.
You
talking about
the 18 March drivers?
What is
I just
it came out with this week. It was the drivers that they dropped this week
for Assassin's Creed. So those are actually the ones that are working for me. I had the 2 driver sets before then. Was like 2 driver sets before then. I started getting intermittent black screen, and then the driver set before this one was when it just completely tanked. And I even pulled that card and put it in another box. And I was getting video output, but I couldn't get dual video output.
Mm-hmm.
But going to this set of drivers that they just released this week, it's restored it and it's working.
To be clear, I only get the black screen when bringing it up from sleep. That's the only time I get it. I don't get it any other time. But like the previous driver fixed it, and I really kind of like told myself, like, they really have dropped the ball on drivers this year. Maybe I should just wait like a week and see what people are saying and then upgrade to it. But then I was like, maybe they're back on track. Wrong. They're so for me at least, it's back for my 4080 Super. It's back to like I did it it happened this morning when I brought it up from sleep, and it was black screen, and did it stays black screen. Sometimes I'm able to actually use my keyboard to type in my code to unlock, and then it brings the screen back up. Other times nothing is working, and then it eventually just reboots on its own after like 90 seconds. And that's what it did this morning. So if it does it one more time, I'm definitely just going to just pull, use DDU, go back to the previous driver before this one, and stay there until Nvidia gets their shit together. So
yeah, they have definitely tanked. I was talking to Innate, I think either on Twitter or Blue Sky or something, or maybe it was just between the show and the chat. But yeah, so the chronology of drivers on Nvidia it's been weird. So early December last year, they put out a set of drivers. They did not put out new drivers until late January. That's been the longest duration that I've seen from Nvidia. It was almost a 2-month time period. That's one of the longest durations I've seen of Nvidia not putting out drivers. I think that was a combination of the holidays, but then also them holding back on releasing drivers until the 5000 series cards came out. But since those 5000 series cards dropped, they have put out like 4 driver updates in the timeline between early February, or maybe late January, early February, and early March. It has been far more frequent. And it's because I think they're trying to fix problems, because this black screen thing started happening.
Yeah.
And that's not even including the hotfix that came out. So one thing I'm definitely doing now that I'm off this Call of Duty train, where I feel like for me being on the Call of Duty train meant that like the moment an Nvidia driver dropped, I had to get it, because Nvidia will put out a new driver. If you're a Call of Duty player, you won't install it. You'll go to play Call of Duty and it'll crash, right? It won't be like it's maddening how much in sync you have to be with new drivers. Now that I'm off that Call of Duty train, I'm going back to like if I've already received a driver, like my old paradigm is my last driver update has to be more than 30 days for me to take a new Nvidia driver. And that miraculously over the last few years has actually caused me, just by happenstance, to avoid when there have been broken drivers that come out. That'll just happen to be the one that I haven't installed. So at least it's a risk mitigation factor for me to just slow down the pace of pulling down those drivers. But yeah, it's been a dumpster fire the first quarter of this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I downloaded the driver update as well. I haven't had any issues yet. knock on wood. So So we'll see. Again, I mean, that's not to say that Slow-Mo's issues aren't an issue. I think it just highlights maybe the complexities or the differences that different experiences that people have in because of the configuration of the rigs, right?
Well,
in
well, and not
PC
only
and-
that,
yeah.
and not only that, but like for me personally, just over the years, I have always felt like Windows, in particular Windows 11, has had Windows 10, I should say, more so than anything. Are you still on Windows 10, Slow-Mo?
I am. Yeah, I refuse. I'm. You know what? I'm gonna eventually go to Windows 11. It's just. Oh my
Do it.
gosh! Like
Do
the current version of Windows 11, the latest, like it's got so many issues when it comes to gaming, and then like at one point, like it basically made every Ubisoft game unplayable, and then there was I've seen testing done of games running compared to Windows 10, and is almost no difference whatsoever. But then, like, there are a select number of games where the performance hit is massive, and I'm just like, why gotta be the games I always play that have that hit, like Cyberpunk, for example? And it's just like, you know what, I'm. I will get on Windows 11 when I got no choice and they stop doing updates. That's when I'll jump over there.
So my personal experience
later this
was
year.
Gotcha. So my personal experience was I found over the time that I used Windows 10 for fairly early on, I would say even, is I felt like it was really horrible about dealing with low power states. And so very early on, I just stopped using sleep mode. And I configured all my PCs to just don't ever go to sleep. And the only thing I do with my PCs is I either shut them down or I put them in hibernate. And I found my experience became far better in terms of like stability doing that. And then now on Windows 11, I'm continuing that paradigm. So I wonder if you're getting a swirl right between both Nvidia being janked up, but then also Windows 10 dealing with sleep mode poorly.
Yeah, I've never had issues with sleep mode. And it's strange that this is popping up now. I think it could be a combination of both of those. I probably should get into more of a habit of just shutting the PC down, which I almost never do. I always go put it to sleep and then wake it up, and really only shut down maybe once every 2 weeks or so. And that's usually because I'm always doing some kind of content creation thing I'm working on. And so like they'll be in various stages of development and I'm just kind of just like, I don't feel like, like shutting anything down right now. I'll just put it to sleep and it'll still be where I want it to be. But I should definitely just start shutting down more anyway. So I've never had because there's some people who've had the issue of you shut the PC down with the current, jacked up Nvidia drivers, and it still won't come out, it'll black screen coming up, straight out of just straight boot. And it's just like, what?
So as soon as it kicks the Windows.
I haven't had those issues. Yeah. I haven't had those issues. So I might just go ahead and just start shutting it down more and maybe just stay where they are. And then, maybe the next hot fix they do will fix this current issue that they reverted back to, because they when they did the hot fix to fix the black screen issue a few weeks ago, I updated to that and that fixed it. It's just it's just annoying seeing them having the kind of issues that I would normally say or have been an AMD issue.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Annoying seeing them pull a Radeon, right? Seeing them act like AMD.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I'm sorry, I was just reading what Nate was saying. All right. Any other thoughts on Assassin's Creed before we move on?
Yeah. Good game. Right. That's it. Shout out to all the haters who are angry. For.
Oh, you missed that conversation earlier, Slow-Mo.
Oh,
go
man.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, shout out to everyone who gets angry over games they don't have to play, actions they don't have to take in games and defacing shrines, but they complain about it like, oh, why would you allow me to do this? You're whatever. The fake outrage is getting ridiculous.
I'm waiting to play that alternate history game where black people owned white slaves.
Oh man,
I would buy that for certain.
Oh look,
there was a movie.
Not a skit, Dave Chappelle skit.
Yeah, well, there was, but there's also a movie where was Sylvester Stallone in it? I don't know. Whites with the Minority. I forget. I'd have to go back and pull. But go ahead, Logic.
And look, for guys who are mad at that first segment or just mad in general about this thing, the one out I'll give you is you are completely authorized to be mad and angry at Disney for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, they race and gender flipped everyone in that show. And like, if you get mad at that, I'll give you the out. Like, Norman Osborn is black, Harry Osborn is black. When Dr. Connors came out and was a black African woman, I was like, oh no, I can't defend this.
What?
Yeah. I mean, wow. I defended it that it's still a creative choice and it's good, but I'm like, okay, at that point, like that demographic, like if y'all are gonna get angry, I'm just gonna allow it.
All right. The other thing was kind of interesting. I learned a lot this week. Actually, it's been a learning week for me. I've embraced knowledge, and I've learned that a couple things that kids doesn't matter what platforms kids don't care what platforms they play video games on. So I learned that was the first thing. All right, I was amazed by that. I never thought of that kids really don't care what platform they play video games on. What do you think? I mean, Logic, what do you think about that? Kids don't care what platform they play video games on.
Yeah. Kids will also get shocked the first time that they stay in a hotel and realize that they can't pause the television. Kids will also get shocked the first time they see a watch and it's not digital. Kids get shocked at a lot of things. Kids start paying attention to a lot of things when they're given new choices. I don't know about you, but most kids, when they grow up, don't keep doing the exact same things that they only had access to when they were kids. When we start actually making more money, kids start making their own money and they start eating fast food. They start making their own money and they start going to concerts. They start making their own money and they, buy flat screen televisions, which is why the industry makes them. It's kind of weird that like kids grow up, they earn money, and they start exposing themselves to other experiences. It's really weird and strange that way.
I mean, I when I was little, I didn't care what the kind of TV I played on. Which is why I still play. Why I still play on a tube television.
No, that's why you are one of the people who runs around and is insistent on you that you get the highest end OLED and has the LG C2 and like all this other stuff.
But that is, by the way, this actually was a real conversation that someone had on Twitter. You could probably get anyhow.
No, it's the difference between non-discriminating consumers and discriminating consumers. When you don't have choices, you are a non-discriminating consumer. When you have limited funds, you tend to not care, right, about different tiers, right, and quality levels, right? Which is why Samsung makes a handset for literally like a $1 difference, right, of consumer for everything type of thing that a person could afford from a phone perspective, right? But then you have discriminating consumers who have disposable cash, and these can float because you can be a discriminating consumer about cars, like I used to be. Now I'm not a discriminating consumer about cars, or at least my threshold is like I'm just not interested in like a luxury vehicle or a high end muscle car anymore, right? So the areas where I play on the market are vastly different, right? But then again, kids grow up, they transition from being non-discriminating consumers to discriminating consumers, and they therefore make different choices. So to me, it's really kind of a silly hypothesis to say that the behavior of a child who is not employed and doesn't make their own money is somehow going to become reflective of the same type of consumer behavior that they're going to have as an adult.
And that is the most frustrating part of that conversation, or what I read from that conversation, was that it's like, and I'm starting to wonder if the motivation behind that comment had to do with propping up the strategy of a particular company, platform owner. Because this notion of, well, kids don't care where they play their video games. Well, yeah, I mean, there are kids out there who don't play or don't care what platform they play on because they may be playing Fortnite, or they may not care because they're just happy to be playing video games on whatever platform it is their parents decide to allow them to play on. And so the frustrating part about this conversation is that it's never taken to the next step. There's no next step. Well, what's next? Is that behavior going to continue into adulthood, or whether they become teenagers, and when they see their friends with the latest and greatest PC or console, whatever the case is, and even then, and I think some people have mentioned, well, look at Fortnite, that people don't care what platform they play Fortnite on. That's not entirely true either. And why this is anecdotal, my son in particular is an example of this. He does not want to play Fortnite. His preference, the preferred platform to play Fortnite for him is on PC because he gets higher frames. He does not like playing it on console because he gets lower frames. Okay. But he's also afforded that opportunity. If he wasn't afforded that opportunity, he probably wouldn't care either way. But I think to Logic's point, and I think this is a great point, Logic, what happens to those kids when they have access to disposable income? They're making money, because we all have lived this, right? We all had access to things as consumers or kids based on what our parents allowed us to have or could afford to give us. As we got older, and I don't know if Ramon Terrell's in the chat. I've seen his setup. Ramon's got this nice, looks like surround sound theater situation going on. Got a nice, I think, a OLED. He's got his PC next to it. I mean, like, as you get older, you start, your taste, but the things that you liked or enjoyed as a child will probably change a bit, because you can access, or you have more money to buy things that you couldn't buy when you were younger. For example, my OLED TV. I have an OLED. And I have an OLED because I have disposable income. I didn't have a high-end television set. I didn't have a Sony Vega TV when I was growing up. I was just happy to have the TV that my parents gave me. Yes, and don't look at a Nate setup. It makes everyone's setup look pretty bad. So I thought that was a great point, Logic. And just, again, the frustrating part of that conversation for me is that there's never that next step. Well, what does that mean down the road? Are these kids going to continue with that mindset of, we don't care where we play video games because platforms are, what's that word I'm looking for? Indiscriminate. Is that right? Is that what that person said? Incidental. Thank you. So so that's what I learned today, Logic, or this week. One of the things.
Well, just what's funny, I'll tag on to that. I actually have talked a lot about this in terms of, when I've talked about consumer behavior, and I'm, coaching and mentoring people like in their professional careers about these flip over points, right? It's not just childhood to adulthood. This actually happens, right? As a young adult, there's going to be a period, right? Unless you're somebody who really comes out into like a high end, like high paying job, right from jump, which just isn't really practical. And there are some people who are going to come out and be advantaged, right? But there's typically a point where you're going to come out, you're going to start making decent money that's going to put you in the middle class, right? But then there's a flip over point, right? Where if you're smart, particularly you guys who are going to be single, you go, hey, wait a second, I'm actually making money now, right? Like I'm not just paying bills, I'm not just paying student loans. And if you're fortunate to have this epiphany, you will also go, oh crap, hold on a second, I actually have things now that I can lose, right? That will probably lead to changes in your behavior and the things you choose to do on your weekends. Maybe you'll stick to playing video games more. But at any rate, right, my point is that there are these points in your adult life where the gambling variables change, right? That will drive different behaviors, and that will then impact your consumer behavior as well. There will be certain markets, as I talked about before, with like the difference with cars, BRAP has talked about with television, where you're going to move upscale, right? And you're going to spend more money. I used to not spend money on amusement parks and entertainment because I don't care about those things, right? But my wife is much more so around experiences. I'm much more so around durable goods, right? But once I understood that I was going to lose the battle of spending money on amusement parks and experiences, right? The switch I flipped was, oh, we're going to spend, now that we're like, if I'm in for $100, we're going in for $200 because I'm going to buy the fast lane pass, right? Because I'm not going to go to the amusement park and sit with the kids waiting in line for 30 minutes and then have everybody salty when we go home because people only got on 2 rides, right? Those things are going to make differences, and those things all have knock-on impacts, right? Potentially about the amount of money you spend on games or whatever. But my point is that like that's a very microeconomic example. But my point is priorities in your life are going to change and flip as you go through these phases and changes of your life, probably along the lines of like maybe every decade or so. They're going to be coupled to like your career track and your profession, like things of that, and they're going to constantly change. And so again, the notion that the way you behave now, the way I behave on the consumer market now is vastly different across multiple right product categories than they were when I was 20, right, just coming out of college.
Yeah, I mean, I've found myself, I didn't care about the kind of tires I used to have. So now I do. Now I'm looking at, $2,000 for a set of tires, which is fucking crazy to me because, 3 years ago I wouldn't have cared. but my only point of bringing that up is that things are things that we value, things that we're interested in change over time. And those things especially drastically change, I think, once we have more disposable income at our hands.
So Machine XP is trying to get at me saying I pay for the Assassin's Creed load. Actually, I don't in Assassin's Creed. Now, you man BRAP over here and I have a philosophical difference, right, in things we pay for in game. I'll just leave it at that.
Look, I need to keep my kids off the streets and put food on the table. So I look.
I was talking about more about you buying those extra 20 levels in the Call of Duty Battle Pass.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, look, I got to catch up. I got to play catch up. To me, that's like the speed pass at the amusement park. I'm not trying to wait in line. Which, by the way, I encourage everyone to invest in a speed pass at an amusement park. I literally, and I know I've shared this story before. Logic had mentioned this to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's not something I would do. And I'll never forget. I got it, and I think I called him or texted him. I was like, Logic, great fucking idea. Best decision I ever made.
It is for those of you guys who are married or are going to get married. I will convey this secret of the chi to you right now. It is literally a life-altering, marriage-altering experience. I used to go to the amusement park and come home pissed off every single time, massive arguments, right? It is, just do it. Spend the money.
Yeah. It is worth, there's so much, you may balk at the price of speed pass, but let me tell you something. When you're riding all the rides or it's hot outside and you don't want to stand in line for 2 hours to ride a ride and you're zipping past everyone, oh, let me tell you something. It feels good. And you get to go to all the rides. Well, anyhow. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it domino affects everything. The pace at which you walk in the park, the minutes of time that you have to eat, right? The value you get out of a meal pass, like it is. Yeah, I can't I can't express enough.
You don't leave pissed because you're not agitated for standing in line for 3 hours in the hot weather. Or that you're not pissed because you didn't get to ride all the rides. So anyhow, we went off the path. So the other thing too, and I know I'll get to GDC here. The other thing Logic kind of interesting. A lot of talk around the Steam UI potentially showing up on Xbox, and I have seen some people say this is a game changer. I'm not so sure. I don't see that necessarily as a game changer. And I know you and I talked about it earlier. This is the concept is cool. Game changer? I don't think so. I don't know. Like I'm trying not to minimize it. It's not a big deal for me. If it is for someone else, fine. But I don't see this as being the game changer that some people are saying this is going to be.
I think the big thing is, it continues to be in this swirl of a space. Like, look, like some people will find like great advantage in this and great value, and think of this as like a great thing that Microsoft is doing this, and that's awesome. I think the problem I have is the conversation. Right? I mean, this is the way the thread goes. Right? This is great. It's going to be a big game changer. Therefore, it is. Xbox sticking it in the face of PlayStation. This is going to wind up on the next Xbox. This is going to be a big deal, right? On console. And I'm like, okay, when I follow the whole thread of your argument through, the problem I have is that when you get to the end, you're not talking about a console versus a console. You're talking about a mini PC versus a console. And that competitive discussion needs to cease and stop being about the notion of an Xbox console in competition against a PlayStation console. At that point, that Xbox thing is more of a competitor against mini PCs, and I might even go as far as to say small form factor PCs. And the conversation stops being about Xbox versus PlayStation versus Nintendo and becomes about Xbox versus Asus versus B-Link versus Minis Forum, Ayanyo, right, and companies like that. Because that thing is also going to bring a lot of baggage along with it, and it's going to be more expensive because you're not going to get that for $500. You're not going to get that for $600. So, and that's fine. Again, that could become that. Quite honestly, I've said it's a different competitive category. We need but the reality too is that could actually spark an entirely new product category, right? People could start stepping up their game with regards to mini PCs. The small form factor PC market could heat up and take off. There may become an effort to depress prices and get them down. AMD may get more business out of that because I strongly suspect what you're going to get out of this is an APU, right, with something like a 7800 or 7900 GRE, right, that sits on die with the CPU, and that could spark which those parts are made now, but there's not a huge uptake on those parts. People will sometimes go that route to get a starter box started to get their toes into gaming PC until they can add on like an ad hoc GPU. But this could heat up the APU market. It could actually pull other vendors into the APU market because nobody really Intel doesn't play deep in that market. I mean, they have integrated GPUs on die, but they don't have like gaming level GPUs on die, even though Intel will claim that they do. But maybe Nvidia will get into that market because we hear Nvidia is talking about making an ARM processor, right? So all of these things could be good for consumers, and I'm not trying to take that away from Xbox. But again, the whole notion of I see Destin Legary running around saying, this is an STFU in the face of PlayStation players. I'm like, Destin, it's really not. And
whoa. Did you really say that?
I'm paraphrasing, right?
Okay. I mean,
but
it's not though. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is his whole thing of PlayStation games coming to Xbox soon. Wink, wink. And I'm like, really? So we're talking about the games PlayStation ports to PC 12 to 18 months, after they show up on their primary console, and because Xbox is gonna theoretically have Steam integration, that's a win for Xbox because now it can play PlayStation games. I'm like, just totally skating by all of the deltas and caveats that there are with that statement. It's a dumb, idiotic console warrior thing that I would think better of from somebody who's supposed to be classified as a journalist. So like I said, this could all be good for consumers, but again, it is yet another reason why this whole silly conversation about Xbox versus PlayStation just needs to stop, right? Because the deltas are getting wider and wider and wider and wider. I don't know. Slow-mo, did you have any thoughts on that?
I don't think Slow-mo's there. Yeah, Slow-mo, I think he probably stepped away, but I don't disagree. Like to me, this isn't about PlayStation versus Xbox, and that's where I was kind of like, okay, like that's not the conversation that should be being had right now. I think to your point, and what I find interesting, the interesting part of this is that mini PC space, right? And the idea of maybe Xbox evolving more into a mini PC of sorts, that has a Steam UI, maybe Epic, who knows. It's like all those things wrapped into this one box, much like a PC, right? But maybe in front of your television or not. But I also think at that point, Logic, and let me know what you think. Like if you agree or not, but I also think at that point, when you start going mini PC, I'm assuming the price of that's probably going to be higher than a traditional console. And at that point, you're looking at a different consumer now. You're looking at that consumer's probably teetering now. Maybe someone like me who's like, okay, maybe I don't want to build a new PC. And actually that might appeal to me. That I actually like the idea of the Steam machines when they first came out. I thought that was a cool idea. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like a mini PC and console form factor. Okay, like that is cool. Fortunately, it didn't pan out. But I remember MSI and others had those. Remember the mini PC consoles? MSI had one.
Yeah, and Alienware had one. I think I told you I bought the Windows version of the Alienware Alpha or Alpha 1, I think it may have been called. And they were great little systems, great, and at the time I was not building. I was using laptops. So that was a great compliment to my ecosystem at the time. And so there's goodness in those ideas. But keeping the same idiotic back and forth as if they're the same product category just is dumb.
Well, and I don't disagree. I mean, that's kind of like my point. Like at that point, you're looking at two different consumers. They're gonna that because they're two different product categories, right? I mean, there's something to say about console ease of access, low cost of entry, relative low cost of entry. But if you look at, and I think if you look at like a mini PC, if this is the direction Xbox is going, I don't see this thing being $500 or at the price of a console. I see this thing being more of a high-end unit where,
it's going to be an $800 box.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to have some kind of custom, I think like APU and partner with AMD and that's what it's going to be. And it's not Xbox. It's not going to be the traditional home console.
My insistence is actually that it not be custom. Like that's like the only way to get this thing down to a anywhere near, and I wouldn't even say practical price point, right? But the only way to get like the cost to not spiral out of control and to keep Microsoft from having to subsidize it is to just use off the shelf industry standard parts. Like if you need to invest and subsidize it all, do that directly to AMD via R&D. Just take the best APU that they put out right on Zen. I guess it's going to have to be Zen 7 because they're saying Zen 6 now is not going to be RDNA 4. Which prevents you from picking up any of the advantages you would have from FSR 4. Now, Xbox, at least it appears, right, and maybe there's something more in the Microsoft to AMD connection, but Xbox doesn't appear to be like overly invested beyond, the norm that we would think of for a company in the PC gaming space in, AMD's, the deep technicalities of AMD's FSR implementation, other than their partnership in DirectX and all that stuff. So, maybe they're not wrapped around the axle about FSR4, but it would certainly be a performance boost. And they're saying they want you to buy their hardware on its merit. So they probably need to get FSR4. But right now, AMD is saying FSR4 is not going to be in APUs on Zen 6, which means I guess they're going to have to leap to Zen 7, which I'm not even sure what the timeline is for Zen 7. So I don't know exactly what's going to go on there. But my recommendation is just take the best APU, right, that AMD makes, and get the highest end SKU with the best integrated GPU on it, and use that. Like, don't do anything custom. Don't do anything crazy wackadoodle one-off that's going to make the thing more expensive. Like, just take the industry standard stock parts, put it in a fractal case, paint the thing green, right, and just sell the thing as a mini PC.
So you're saying like the Asus has they have like a mini PC that's like $1,000. I think it's a little bit more than that. Has like I think an Nvidia GPU. So just something like that.
And that's the nuke, right? I know people call it the NUC, but
yeah, I don't remember. I just remember seeing it like
I think
last week. I think I don't remember, to be honest with you. Let me look it up real quick, actually.
I mean, I'm in the headspace, and this is what I wrote like spring of last year, and it's still available on Twitter as a long post article. But I'm still of the mind, like just partner with one of the best case manufacturers you can. And like I said, I picked Fractal, that makes one of the best small form factor cases that you can. Like don't even go with like the customized cooling solution, right? Which costs money and R&D that has to be paid back. Like just put I don't even necessarily know that you need to go with liquid cooling. I mean, but you could definitely go with 120 millimeter or 240 millimeter liquid cooling solution if you had to, or AIO if you had to, but just put it in their small form factor case, air cool the thing, and just make it a mini PC. Brian is in stock cooling.
Yeah, I think this thing's probably like, I'm looking at the mini PCs, I'm looking at the G7 PT. They run anywhere from $630 to $1,600, depending on the model you get.
Yeah, Zotac makes a great mini gaming PC.
But again, I can't stress this point enough. Like, this is, at this point, you're right. Like you were outside the bounds of home console gaming. This is really like mini PC space. And actually, I don't think, like, if I'm looking at Xbox or Microsoft, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like you guys, you aren't going to make any inroads in the home console space, right? So you've talked about tearing down the walled garden, right? And that immediately, my mind goes to PC, right? Where we talk about PC being the open platform. And if that's what you're talking about, having games anywhere, no barriers, to me, that makes sense for Microsoft. You carve out that little space for yourself by leaving the home console business, traditional home console business, and going mini PC. You got to figure you're probably only selling 25 million copies or consoles now. I mean, like, some of those people will probably migrate over. You may pick up some new people that are in that kind of in between, that high-end PC and console gaming, don't want to do console gaming, don't want to do high-end PC, maybe fall in that mini PC space.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking now that I'm reminded? Yeah. Like, we have done this before, right? And this has been done successfully before. Not huge numbers, right? But this is really talking about, to me, in my mind, what this is really talking about is get something in the Commodore VIC-20, right? Commodore 64 space, right? That sandwich in between consoles and PCs. And remember, we used to have the Coleco Atom, right?
Yeah.
Which was really a console, used all the ColecoVision peripherals, but then you could bolt like peripherals onto it like a PC. I'm not saying you need to go that far. It doesn't need to be super modularized, right? And do all that wackadoodle stuff, right? But my point is, from a product category standpoint, sandwich yourself in between traditional consoles, and low end PCs, and you're actually going to have there's a competitive conversation for you to have, because if PlayStation does try and come out with a $700 console, right, and you're able to get in at the $850 space, you start injecting that thinking of, hey, I'm talking myself into spending $700 right on a console, right, for another $150, right? Does it make sense for me to get this other thing? I'm not saying that's a winning argument, but I'm saying that's the discussion you need to have, right? It's the same discussion that I say, for your fence riders. If you start forcing people to think about buying a $700 console, right, you start allowing for that, you're going to have some of that demographic go, and for $700, like, do I save another $500 and get right in like a gaming PC, right?
Yeah, and actually, let me share this real quick just to give people an idea of the mini PC. This is the Asus that we were just talking about. You see that here.
Yeah, so that to me, and so that's the NUC, or what I call the nuke. That to me is too small a form factor, because that gets you into a very minimal power profile, and it is going to force you to have to do some type of custom cooling. My recommendation is that you go a little bigger than that into like a fractal small form factor case that can again use industry standard parts, right?
I would love to see this device running games and see what the stats are, see what the cooling is. That would be interesting. I also love the whole when they do it's a RTX 4070/46. Like what? Those are two different.
That's a laptop part. That's what that's what that is the laptop part RTX.
Yeah, and I hate how they name it like that, because people get the misconception that you're getting a discrete GPU performance in this device, and you are not getting that. Which is, it's a unfortunate misconception. I think they should just come up with a whole different naming convention for that kind of GPU. So like is this an APU at that? Is it an APU inside this, or is it?
No, it's not. It's still a discrete GPU, but it's the laptop RTX 4070 and 60, which if you look at any benchmark list, will show you that it's ranked further down than the actual desktop part.
Right. So yeah, they should just come up with a different naming convention for those, so there's no confusion for people who end up getting this and thinking, well, I mean, I looked on YouTube and saw 4070 versus random AMD GPU benchmark and the 4071, so I should have the same performance with this. No, you're not going to get that same performance. So yeah, they need to. I mean, Nvidia doesn't care, but they should change the naming convention of those so that there's no confusion. But I think they want that confusion. That's why they do that on purpose. They want people to buy thinking they're getting that level of performance.
So you guys are saying like a small form factor PC, kind of like, is that what you're saying? Logic, like not what we're okay. So, but that is, I mean, because now when I think of that, now I'm thinking, okay, now you're really kind of in the PC space, right? You're not kind of in that go between. Because to me, the raw nuke or whatever it's called, that to me that's the go between.
No, that is a PC. No. That is going to boot Windows 11 and operate just like a gaming laptop. So what I'm saying,
I say go between in terms of like.
Oh, and by the way, has Intel fixed that particular CPU? Because wasn't that CPU getting absolutely lambasted when it launched for not even performing as good as the previous generation, 14th and 13th generation Intel i9s and i7s. So is it
for gaming? Yeah, and that's what I said. And Slow-Mo, while you were, what I was saying is that it should be an AMD APU.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like it don't. My next PC would be an AMD GPU. There's just no reason to go Intel ever at this point until they improve. Which, considering where they're at, they are years away from really competing with AMD on the CPU front. So yeah.
So Logic, this is what. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, someone.
No. Go ahead.
So is this what you guys are?
Cyber power. Ew. I'm sorry.
You need to stop.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So this is what you guys are referring to then, like a like mini PC like this, and you can see these are more. Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't think it needs to be that high end, right?
Sure.
Like I said, I mean, I said, look, if you can get an AIO in there, great at the price, but you don't have to. It could be something air cooled. What I'm saying is a small form factor case, right, with an APU in it. So that case that you're looking at, that is a small form factor case that takes a discrete GPU. That's a small form factor case that you can throw a 4080 in, right? Mm-hmm. That's not what I'm saying. So Fractal makes some cases that are like literally just barely bigger than the size of the actual case that the current Xbox Series X is in. And so I'm saying you take that, you could even use some laptop parts, like you could use SODIMMs, right? And you could use SODIMMs soldered to the motherboard, and then have an APU, so you get AMD APU level integrated GPU performance out of it, right? Is what I'm saying. And that's how you get the price, right? That's how you try and control the price as best you can, so that you're not trying to sell people a $1,700 right PC.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Slim? I don't know if you I know you
I kind of came in on the middle of the conversation.
Yeah.
I had the family stuff, so I had to take a break for a second. Are we just looking at like PC builds? What are we talking about?
We're talking about like the idea of the Xbox having a UI, Steam UI, or the idea of Xbox like kind of being like more of a. We talked about the Asus NUC or Nuke, whatever. That maybe Microsoft kind of steps. They don't maybe they don't put out a traditional home console per se, but kind of step into this space now, which would take them out of that home console space and put them like in that space, that kind of in between of PC and home console, with kind of a mini PC of sorts.
Yeah. So let me. I'll say what I know of what I could talk about, and then what I can kind of feel like where they're going, because all this stuff is subject to change. But like, they're definitely looking to have the very next Xbox be. I mean, and we've all heard this and seen it said multiple times. Basically, a PC. It's going. They want in the future. They're going to have the UI be universal for everything. So like, you know how like you look at the Xbox PC app and it looks different than what you look at when you turn on an Xbox Series X, which also looks slightly different than what you turn on when you look at an Xbox One. They're going to have a future where they're going to have like the mobile app, the Xbox UI, all of that stuff is all going to look universal. It's all going to look the same. It's going to function the same, and they're going to want. They're trying to get to a place where your games will go with you everywhere. If you have a game that you bought on an Xbox back in 2019, that whether you're playing on a PC or if you're trying to play it streaming on your mobile phone, or on a PC handheld, or whatever this Xbox PC handheld thing, when that comes out, you're going to be able to play that game. They would like to make it native, but I don't think it will be. And it's not necessarily a technical issue. It's a licensing issue. It's a licensing problem with that. It's difficult to get, and we've talked about Ubisoft tonight, so I'll bring them up. It's difficult to get Ubisoft to sign off on allowing the Division 2 that was purchased. When did that come out? 2018? 2017?
2019, I thought.
2019. Okay, so the Division 2 came out in 2019. It's difficult to get Ubisoft to agree to allow the purchase of that on a Xbox One X in 2019 to justify allowing that same account to play that game natively on a PC in 2026. And the licensing issue is what they're trying to get around. What they may eventually end up doing is going the emulation route, in some way, and then for like some of the older games, unfortunately, the cloud route, which brings us other issues with latency and so forth. But I think what we're seeing now, where they have options to allow Steam, which isn't new, because GOG does this. The forgotten PC launcher, GOG, that does everything that even PC gamers claim they love. Yeah. Oh, no, I hate DRM, but then you don't buy your games on GOG, you hypocrite. You know, like it's GOG that has a preservation program that's bringing back older games that are so far out of date. Haven't seen any love from the publisher or developer that made them. The mods are so out of date that like even installing the mods don't help. Like those games that are like aren't playable anymore on current hardware. GOG brings those games back and makes them playable through their preservation program, through their launcher. Like the GOG app is amazing, and with that app, you see all the things that they are doing with the Xbox app. None of this stuff is really new. It's new to console gamers that are coming from console to PC, and then they see these things and they go, "Oh, this is amazing! I can't believe."
I keep likening it to the Gwald in Stargate, right? It's the Gwald come down in the pyramid that's a spaceship, land on the planet, and convince all the Egyptians that they're gods, like granting them fire right, for the first time in mankind. Right?
Yeah, and Wana says the GOG launcher doesn't get a lot of new games, but that's an issue that's also born from the PC. Like you don't get a lot of games because not a lot of people use the app. They claimed that they love, they champion so much, but when it does have games that are also available on Steam, they don't buy them on GOG. They still buy them on Steam, which causes the issue of GOG still not getting a lot of games, because if no one's buying games there, then a lot of developers and publishers aren't going to put their games on the platform. So it creates the issue, which won't be solved until people start using the app.
And that's the store, right? The other part of this tale, right, that Slomo's going through is like GOG Galaxy allows you to add, like the Steam launcher allows you to add other games, right? Mm-hmm. that are from parts, like, so there are open source launchers that will aggregate all your PC games. So like literally at the deep technical level, like that part of what the Xbox app is doing is nothing new, right? There are free open source applications that do that. The other thing, Slomo, that you're talking about though, about where they're trying to negotiate and broker all these deals, right, with third-party publishers to allow cross-licensing and forward pass licensing. The scary thing, and I've never understood that before, and that maybe I've just never put that together in my head before. But the scary thing that says to me is that Phil Spencer is trying to be a Steve Jobs, right? He's trying to go out across an industry and broker all these things that enabled Apple TV Plus, right? Like Tim Cook did, that enabled iTunes, right? Like Steve Jobs did. And the fearful notion of that perspective is that Phil Spencer is no Steve Jobs and Microsoft is no Apple. That ability to work, right? I mean, the one plus, the one saving grace there is that it's all within the gaming industry. So they're not trying to go cross industry. But that sounds like that sounds like an incredible thing to try and wrangle. But the other thing is this has been a thing that I've pointed out that's going to, in my mind, break the strategy. When it's not uniform and it's not ubiquitous and there are gaps, when it's partial, some things work, but some things don't. These Ubisoft games play, but the Take-Two games don't because Strauss ain't hearing that, right? Mm-hmm. That type of stuff is what's going to break this, because what you're going to have is you're going to have gamers, and this goes back to like the other analog that I talked about with netbooks, right? The reason netbooks didn't work is because Microsoft was incapable of conveying to everyone why Windows 7 Starter wasn't the same thing that Windows 7 was, and why your applications that ran on a desktop PC didn't run on Windows 7 Starter. Because all the technical underpinnings of that, of like Windows 7 Starter only runs UWP apps, and so therefore you can't run the same exact instance of Microsoft Office. Like all that type of stuff. You have a demographic of consumer that you were selling that to because it was cheap and inexpensive that ain't hearing all that.
They had the same issue with Windows 8, by the way. They have a massive issue with messaging. They never seem to be able to nail that, and regardless of how well intentioned or well designed the product or service is, how they deliver that and message that to the consumer base is always done in a subpar manner, unfortunately. So it's just part of the course for Microsoft, which also I kind of feel like would be an issue with this Xbox initiative. I mean, we could bring this. Look, they've been talking like, why? Oh my gosh. Okay, so PlayStation never talks about what PS6 is going to do. Like we've heard like whoever freaking Tom Henderson knows at PlayStation, who's probably like they're probably looking for this guy under every like table and desk out there to hang him for leaking all their hardware stuff to Tom Henderson 2 years ago. But like that guy came out and said they're working on a new handheld, like a real, not the Portal, but like an actual handheld, you know, for the future, which will natively play games, you know, like. But we heard that from Tom Henderson. We didn't hear that from PlayStation. You know, we don't like Nintendo. All the rumors were out there about the Switch 2. All the rumors, and Nintendo denied it for years. Denied it until they finally were ready to come out and speak on it. We got Phil Spencer a year ago at GDC telling us, hey, you know, we might have a handheld. Like, you are the freaking CEO of Microsoft Gaming. Why are you talking about this now? Why are you seeding this in people's minds now when you're not ready to actually show anything? And so what it does is it creates narratives, creates stuff that you may not even be able to deliver on. It takes people's imagination and you hype them up into something that it may not actually be. Now, because you did that a year ago and because you kept dropping hints in your 5,000 interviews since then, when you come out with this partnership with Asus, and you have a Xbox themed handheld, the Xbox themed ROG Ally, which is really no different than the usual ROG Ally with maybe a couple of things here and there. And you're really just kind of like testing things in the market. You got people confused thinking this is the Xbox handheld you were talking about a year ago. Because where are they used to? They're used to companies telling you what they're doing and then showing it pretty quickly, not telling you what they're doing 3 to 4 years from now and then doing it. And so you have an Xbox handheld that you're actually working on that you really got, you know, prototypes of behind the scenes, and you got people testing, and you're trying to work on the UI, and you're trying to build up this infrastructure that we talked about before, but you're not ready for prime time yet. You're not gonna be ready for prime time for like 2 freaking years. So why are you talking about it now, stupid? Talk about it when you actually have it ready. Why are you talking? So all you're doing now is disappointing gamers and ruining expectations. Because when this ROG Ally Xbox Slim handheld comes out, there is a expectation. I saw it, you know, the week of the where it was leaked, where everyone was like, "This Xbox handheld is going to be a disappointment." It's not an Xbox handheld, but you created that by talking about something before you could actually show. It's the same thing they did with their talk about this is what's an Xbox. Ooh, your microwave's an Xbox. Ooh, your pen is an Xbox. Ooh, that cup of coffee is an Xbox.
Leave Sarah alone.
Hey, I'm just saying.
So
the marketing. Hold on, the marketing was too fast. Because you did that, and then later you have a what is it called? What's the Amazon device called? What is that thing?
Fire Stick.
Yeah, you have a Fire Stick with an Xbox app on it. Then you got Samsung TVs with an Xbox app on it. When you first started talking about this is an Xbox, what did you have to show? Nothing. It's like it's never cohesive. It's never on the same page. And that's them in a nutshell, man. They're never on the same page or anything. And so all this stuff is always so it seems
so you think there's a lack of focus,
disorganized.
You think there's a lack of focus?
I think there's a lot of internal stuff going on. But like a lot of internal, there are people who have different ideas of where Microsoft Gaming should be going. And there is not a lot of people on the same page. And there is a lot of, I have my vision of things. And someone who may even be my superior may have a different idea. but they're not telling me to stop doing what I'm doing, so I'm still doing it. And then when things come happen, and the next thing you know, there's a Bloomberg article, with me revealing things that I maybe should not have said, talking about other people who are executives and their sleeping habits, and when they go to sleep during, major mergers and acquisitions and so forth. It's just like all kinds of internal things that are happening. That Xbox app on mobile, it's behind the scenes, it's troubling. The amount of drama that's going on just to get this thing. Now, forget Google, forget Apple, who are fighting against having it on their device. They're killing themselves just to get this thing created. And it's just, we just don't, even if there is this kind of like drama and politicking going on at the other companies, we never hear about this stuff, but we always hear about it with those guys. So yeah,
I think
off my soapbox.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, but I think the maybe the lack of focus you're talking about. I think, at least for me, I think the messaging has been pretty clear for them. They want to take, much like the Microsoft business in general, take their products, take their software to the consumer. And I think that is ultimately what they're doing with Xbox. We have all these studios, we have the software portfolio. We're just going to go where the consumers are. And by the way, we may have this thing that is a product differentiator for us in the market. Again, this is just speculation. This maybe mini PC type thing that's going to have this Steam UI where you can have all your games, where there's no barriers. Oh, and by the way, you have the added bonus of having the Xbox integration built in. I think to me that message has been pretty clear.
I disagree, BRAP. Right, just in terms of let's roll the tape back to maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Right, between to the way you and I used to talk about what we thought the Xbox messaging was. Right, we talk about the Phil Spencer interview in October of I want to say 2022, and the Sarah Bond interview in January of 2023. Right. We talked about this thing that I had dubbed the CB DOM, and we talk about that when you put together those two interviews, what you really hear is this notion that, right, this is when we were starting to talk about enshittification, right, and choke point capitalism, and that Xbox's real strategy was about trying to work with suppliers and create this environment where it just made more financial sense for them to create, build, develop, deploy, operate, and monetize their game, right, in infrastructure environments that Xbox would provide, and thereby maneuver themselves to the point where you had to go through them to get to your games, right? That was the Xbox strategy and where they were really trying to go. And there was this notion of, between this environment and cloud, and we talked about the whole equalization and democratization of citizens, so that a person playing Call of Duty on Nintendo Switch, on mobile, via the cloud, on console, and on PC, were all playing at parity, right? And nobody felt like a second-class citizen. That is what we used to talk about in our competitive analysis of the Xbox, right? Flash forward to 2020, late 2024 and early 2025, and we even go back to the Xbox business strategy update of February 2024, right? In a year's time, that voice track, which quite frankly, I think I did a better job at articulating than Phil Spencer does. But anyway, right, that voice track has become highly fragmented, right? Right, signifying to me like we can't even tell what the hell Xbox is doing. People who are familiar with the matters of Xbox can't tell what the hell Xbox is doing, right? And you have, now this is speculation, but I am going to say it, right? And we see the fragmentation of, to me, Phil Spencer is clearly on his way out. Sarah Bond is clearly aligning herself very closely to what Satya does. That's why she came back from the meeting with Satya running around talking about every screen's an Xbox. That is a discreetly Sarah Bond thing. That is not a Xbox GLT thing, right? What that says to me is that she's positioning herself to be the heir apparent, and I think she already has been kind of designated in succession planning, right? But she's starting to chart a course to me that is about doing what she needs to do to stay in Satya's good graces, right? And less so, right, staying in Phil's good graces, right? We had this whole thing of this story about how they both went to HR and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of what I think is the changing dynamic. But all of this leads to the strategy that I even felt was fairly unified and where they were going to go, right, in the up through the January 2023 timeframe, right, as they were on the approach path to sealing this deal of the acquisition of Activision. In the wake of locking the acquisition down, has completely come off the rails, right? And now we've had this whole intervention by Amy Hood, which I think is really stirring the pot, right, in the arrival of the new COO. So, I mean, I would have gone back 18 months and said, like, this is where they were going, and now, it's not. I think the Slowbo's comments, I mean, my feeling about, like, why does Phil Spencer do those things, right? Why does he start whipping people up? For two reasons. One, because his diehard faithful salivate and live on that stuff. And that is what excites them, and that is what inspires the loyalty. Disregard that they've dwindled from even 9.85% of the console market down to 8% of the console market. But I think he does that for them, right? And then another reason was because, and he got me right last generation. We're now going into the second generation in a row that there's capitulation and acknowledgement that they've lost the console generation. And so going into the final years, because he did the exact same thing during the Xbox One generation that he's doing now, he's starting to whip the flames of fan loyalty, right? And starting to seed reasons in people's minds why they should be excited for the next generation of Xbox when the clock is going to reset and the competition is going to start all over again, right? But unfortunately, what we saw last time is all of that wound up right in undelivered and broken promises. And I don't know that we've seen a trend of publisher performance, right, that would cause me to believe it's going to go any differently this next time up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Logic. So I think there was a question I'm not familiar with. I don't know if this is. Oh, there's a question in the chat. Oh yeah, Look at Noir said, "What do you guys think of Sony fully integrating Essence systems to SIE, the developed tool for PlayStation? What is going to change from them doing this?" I'm not familiar with that. Anyone on the panel?
Is that Sony Network Systems?
That's what I'm assuming.
Because as far as I understand, those divisions were already integrated. They were integrated under CAS in the wake of the 2011 PlayStation Network outage.
The network outage, which they didn't talk about for quite some time.
Yeah, because back then those two organizations did exist in separate divisions. Actually, that Sony Network Services group was out of like the PC gaming group because they were mostly oriented around supporting EverQuest. And then in the wake of, and then they were the ones who were hit, right? It wasn't actually PlayStation. It's that the PlayStation Network rode on that backbone. And so that group was the ones who were actually compromised, right? And took the Sony Network down, as well as all the EverQuest stuff, right? And whatever they were doing in the PC space down along with it. As far as I understand, when the reins were handed to Kaz said, now they announced that integration last month. I'm not familiar with it, Noir. I guess I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I'm not either. That's why I threw it out to the panel. Yeah, I'm not sure. So,
yeah, I'm not quite. The last thing I remember reading about what they were doing behind the scenes was more along the lines of Project Amethyst with AMD.
With AMD,
yeah. So I'm not familiar with that, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, definitely. I don't know. Look at somewhere. Maybe it's something we'll talk about next show. Talk about it because I'm not familiar with it. So,
I see it now. It's basically, and again, this is off a quick read. They're a group that provides lower level tools, and it's a wholly owned subsidiary. Right. So it's the same type of corporate governance relationship that I think Bungie was originally brought in under. And obviously they're talking about, because of Bungie's poor performance, they're talking about further integrating Bungie. I don't know that I personally know that it really changes anything. Other than at best it would be potential closer alignment and synergy and coordination with development studios and their actual CI/CD pipelines, maybe. So you might, this would align to Toki's statement about, cutting, improving operational margins and building efficiencies. You might just have kind of some red tape that might be cut in managing those resources. That's the most I could see it providing.
All right. Well, look, gentlemen, it's almost midnight. We've been, what are we, like 3 hours into the show now? I think so. I think about 3 hours, but, actually 3 hours and 35 minutes. So, BRAP needs to go to bed. So, I realized I was off camera, but, do want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening, for sticking around with us for 3.5 hours. I appreciate the time. Please do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Consider subscribing, hitting the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. We give a big shout out to our guest, Dupes here, who was here with us earlier this evening. And also want to welcome back Mr. Slow-Mo. Backslap, Slow-Mo. Always a pleasure. Great to have you on this evening, man. Appreciate it.
Wait, Brett, I got to stick my toe in the door on one topic. Warwana had a question for the panel. So as we're doing our outros, he wants to know if it was up to us to pick what the next venue was for the next Assassin's Creed, where would it be?
Oh, I made my pitch early in the show.
Mexican cartel.
Yes. 70s. Carlos, yes.
Down in Mexico in the 1970s.
Yeah.
I can dig it. I can dig it.
You missed the whole pitch, Slobo. It was epic.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. I can roll with that.
I even had a scenario where, so let me just give you a backdrop. Carlos, part of a drug cartel.
You really thought about this.
Oh,
like
yeah.
You've got a whole plot, breakdown and everything. Go ahead.
This was the start of the show. So this was Carlos, right? Carlos is part of a cartel, and he has a girlfriend. She gets killed by a fellow cartel member, right?
Of course.
Jealousy, love, blah blah blah. He's upset. He gets cooked up the animus, whatever. Comes back as an assassin, right? Vengeance. His girlfriend died. Wants to take out the cartels, and the first seed is really him. He's got a little dagger, right? Slow-mo. He's got that. And he's walking to it. This is set in the 1970s, by the way, Slow-mo. 1970s, right? So you got the Mexican drug cartel lords, they got their, big butterfly shirts in the 70s, the shirts buttoned down, the gold chains, the taco meat hanging out.
To see the taco meat, you gotta have the taco meat hanging out.
Yeah, you gotta have that, right? He's got that and then he's walking in, and the song White Rabbit is playing. If you remember the White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane.
Look, I'm not that old. I don't remember.
Well, it was actually played in the movie The Matrix when Neo meets the girl with the white rabbit on her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's that song. So he sequence, right? Dark nightclub, smoke, the ray tracing's popping off, right? You know what I'm saying? Global illumination's popping off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a smoke-filled room. People, rubbing their noses. They're partaking, smoking cigarettes, drinking scotch, whiskey, whatever. And he walks in with the hood on, and I kind of said, remember the scene in Blade where Blade breaks up the vampire party, the underground vampire party. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he just goes ham, kills all of it. So kind of similar, but Carlos doesn't carry guns. He does wield a machete though. So he walks in. He's got his hood. There's smoke everywhere. The White Rabbit song's playing, and it's in slow motion. And he just goes ham, starts killing cartel members. That's there you go.
Okay. So to kind of keep with the Assassin's Creed theme, how did in dealing with what we see with the current gameplay, how would you integrate the current gameplay into what that is? Like, you're talking the 70s, you're talking like guns, you're talking
yes,
he may use a machete and he may
use guns.
But you still have to have enemies that will use guns.
Yeah, Carlos could throw daggers.
Okay, I'm cool with
He's
that.
sassy. He stays out of in the shadows.
I can dig it. I'm there for it. You know, now I can't unsee it. It has to happen. So you need to tag Ubisoft and be like, hey, look, I got this great pitch. I'm gonna keep telling it to everyone until you actually implement it. If not, you know, you do this at your own peril. If you go back to like freaking England or some shit like that, it's going to be a problem.
The year is 2025. Why can't we go back to 1970? Right?
Yeah. I mean, they haven't even really gone. What's the latest era they've done? What like
I think was it wouldn't be
Syndicate? Was Syndicate
maybe Syndicate?
Like
I think Syndicate, yeah, because they did like the French Revolution.
Oh, it was the late 1800s, early 1900s, something like that. Like, yeah, you know, we need later than that.
They did Black Flag, but I don't recall when that took place.
Black Flag is pirate, you know, stuff. That's like 1700s, I think.
Black Flag is my favorite Assassin's Creed game, by the way. So
yeah, a lot of people like Black Flag.
Yeah,
I think I saw some gameplay clips of it. I never played it because, you know, kind of haven't cared much for Assassin's
Creed. The pirate
Creed,
chanties, man. The pirate chanties on the boat. Oh man, that will get stuck in your head. You'll be singing them. I used to sing them on my way to work. But anyhow, but Slobo, always great to see you, sir. You are one part member of DPS.
That's right. DPS is damage per second gaming now. Damage per second gaming, not damage per second podcast. With the channel's damage per second gaming, we do a podcast on Thursday nights as well as other stuff. Occasional videos when Forte finally stops sleeping and makes them, and live streams from myself from time to time. So, you know, come check the channel out. We have a good time. Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the podcast. And yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, Slomo, always a pleasure having you on, man. Thank you for joining us again. Big shout out to B Money and Gaming Forte. And miss you guys. Hope you guys can join us next Friday. And last but not least, but Game Logic, always a pleasure. And let everyone know where they can find you.
Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the E2KG Network podcasting channel for the Enough to Keep Going Weekly Games podcast. My own Assassin's Creed pitch. I know that the franchise visited China and Russia in the little Chronicles vignettes, but I would actually like a full-scale Assassin's Creed game. And I'd actually like it to be set in Russia during the time of the Bolshevik Revolution. And in China during the period of the Maoist Revolution, which would bring you into the 1960s. So my feeling now is I get that they kind of progressively move like sort of kind of forward through time, I guess. But I feel like the aperture on the series can kind of be opened now, so you can do things more modern and then go back to ancient times, right? There's nothing that says that they have to proceed in chronological order. So I think those times would be interesting. I also think those times are very ripe in current events to kind of visit those times. And again, while other people have problems potentially with social commentary in video games, I don't. And I think those would be really interesting times to kind of plumb from a historical perspective and talk about things on both the political and the social landscape, and then, you know, pull those into the tale of an Assassin's Creed during some very interesting times in more modern settings.
Yeah, no, actually, that would be cool to go back to those time periods, and you know, the Bolshevik Revolution and the 1960s China. Yeah,
like cool. What about an Assassin's Creed set in the time of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, where one of the main characters is Rasputin?
Oh man,
like those are eras that, like, in my mind, like aren't explored thoroughly in current American or in just modern pop culture, and I think that's why I also think that they're super ripe for the presentation of like historical figures and historical times and events that haven't been well covered.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Guys,
again,
what about an Assassin's Creed in Antarctica? Okay. Just bear with me. You got like 12 people on the entire continent, sure, but you are an assassin of
polar bears.
and you're basically well, the polar bears are your friends. You actually recruit them to help you hunt down the other humans, because your goal is to end up being the only human left on the entire continent. So how about that? And it should be really easy to make. It's just everything is ice. And there are very little, other things out in the environment, wide open spaces. I mean, even Unreal Engine can do that without tanking, right? It'll be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, the analog to that might be a little difficult to do a game with only 12 people to assassinate, but to stick with the spirit of that, Assassin's Creed Alaska could be very interesting.
Yeah, Anchorage. You're going around Anchorage and I don't know, dodging monster-sized mosquitoes and
hunting for whale blubber. Yeah. All right. Well, interesting. That's interesting, Slow-Mo. But all right, Logic, Slow-Mo, and our guest Doomsayer. Thank you, everyone. And thank you everyone in the live chat for hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate it as always. And we'll be back next week. Everyone enjoy the weekend. Until then.